live. But okay, could one of you get on YouTube and check if everyone is hearable, please? Just so
YouTube.
that
Okay.
I just so
Okay. Oh, are we live on YouTube now?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay then.
So if one of you could check if,
Okay.
cause
YouTube.
yeah, thank you. Just so that I know that all the audio is working, so that oh, actually, I haven't unlisted it. Damn it. So it should be visible now.
Okay.
So
Yep, I see it, but I don't know whether we're hearable.
okay. um,
I can hear
it'll.
it.
You can hear it.
Yeah, I think so.
All three of
Don't
us.
talk.
Can you hear all
Yeah,
three
we-
of us, or?
Yeah, we sound fine.
Ah.
Actually, let me.
Oh, I heard my echo. I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was just very delayed.
Yeah, it
So,
tends to happen.
it was like-
So
Yeah,
it's like
which is fine. But yeah.
all right, cool. Yeah, it's like a 20-second delay, so it's fine. Oh,
We're up and running.
oh my god! After an hour of fiddling about, hello everyone.
Hello there.
Hi.
Mm.
Hello.
Right. I mean, it's not like we've been speaking for the past hour. Not at all. So how are you two?
Oh,
Pretty good, thanks.
pretty good.
How are you?
I am doing just fine. Just perfectly
Good.
adequate.
I have Pop Tarts, so I am happy.
Oh, well, that
Very
sounds
nice.
fantastic, really.
It's good Pop Tart.
Ah, good. Right, so, let's get right to things. What have you guys been watching as of later?
I have been watching Schitt's Creek for the most part. That's been the majority of what I've been watching. Just a
Okay.
really nice comedy thought of really well by Eugene Levy and his son Dan Levy. And it's just a really delightful show really, about these wealthy celebrities who lose everything and then have to come to terms with their situation and make the most out of life with what they have, which is each other. And I'm really enjoying the show. I'm into season 3 already.
Oh, that's good.
I've also recently watched one of my favorite movies, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Love that movie so much. And The Goldfinch, which is a film that is very well shot, very well acted, but I didn't really like it all that much, and it was very slow, and I felt as though it didn't seem to know where it was going at all times. But I also really enjoyed the film Hush. So there have been ups and downs this week. Hush by Mike Flanagan, who we'll talk about later in the show, was a very tight film that I really enjoyed, and the performance by Kate Siegel, who is also brilliant in The Haunting of Hill House. She was great here. And yeah, that's what I've watched this week.
Very cool.
And yourself, Ami?
I was being super nostalgic the other day, and I was watching Kim Possible.
Oh
I
my
forgot how much
days!
Wow,
God,
that's a
how much
callback.
I love that show. I do not care. I'm a 27-year-old and I still love Kim Possible. It's amazing.
Aren't they doing
And
a
I'm
live
pretty
action
sure
version?
They did do a live action version, and it's terrible.
Fantastic.
It completely ruins everything good about the show. Like,
Oh, so it's a usual live action then.
yeah, like that show is the reason I'm so sarcastic, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
I must
Like-
admit, I do have fond memories of the animated series.
Yeah. I remember rewatching it and I completely forgot, but they have like a Fight Club reference
Really?
in one of the episodes. Yeah, one of the episodes. I think it's Ron who's like trying all these different sports, and Kim's like, "Why don't you try chess club again?" And he goes, "The first rule of chess club is we do not speak about chess club." And I was like, I forgot that was in there.
Oh man, Fight Club has a lot to answer for.
Yeah, and I love how like they had like this like school signs, and there's always like something like there's like a pun on the school sign, and I'm just like, oh my god, this show is just so cool.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
Oh, I've just watched Hill House and Bly Manor, so yay.
Sounds
I
as
mean-
though we're ready to jump right in then.
Yeah,
I know, right?
let's
Jeez.
get to the Hill House.
Oh, I mean, okay, so we're gonna start off with episode of what we'd like to call 1.
Steven sees a ghost.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're gonna go through this episode by episode. So we're gonna start with episode 1 and ideally end at episode 10. And the week after we'll be talking about Bly Manor. So yeah, going nice and chunky into this because you know, like I'm so self-conscious about being like the guy who hates everything on this podcast, but no, I do like it. I do like the show, so yeah. Yeah, we're gonna go through each episode individually, talk about everything we liked, disliked, if there are any, and by the end of it come to a conclusion, compare and whatnot. So yeah. So first episode, what did you guys think of it? My goodness.
I'll let David talk about it first, since you are kind of like the person who put us onto it.
Okay.
I'm beginning to see a pattern here.
So first episode, Steven sees a ghost. I liked the episode. It was one of those where when I first started watching the series, I watched the first episode and I kind of thought I liked that. However, I also think that it's one of the weaker episodes in the series in the season. Just simply because I was getting into the mood of the show, and you know, Steven's the main character of this particular episode. So you don't really get much of his other family members. And I have to be honest, Steven's not one of my favorite of the family. So it was kind of adjusting to his personality as well as adjusting to the show itself. But I really liked how it started out with getting to know Steven in both the past and the present, and seeing how the family existed within Hill House, and certain flashbacks to the last night as well. I thought that was a really good way to start off the show, and it's something that I loved about the show, where they spend the first 5 episodes in particular. They spend the entire episode focusing on one character, and you kind of get to know the ins and outs of their current life and what happened to them at Hill House, and I really liked that. And I think as where the first episode ended with the death of Nell, I thought it was a really good jumping off point for the rest of the season.
Nice.
Ame?
I really liked episode 1. I do remember being very confused at the end of it. Like, wait, is she dead or what? And then obviously it gets confirmed. But the fact that it confused me, I don't know. I enjoyed that because it made me want to like watch more to figure out like what the hell just happened. And I think that was part of the scare for me. I was like, wait, so is she alive or not? And part of me, my brain kind of went, is it gonna be like a story where she's literally just been a ghost the whole time?
That would have been a plot twist.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed the way it very much showed you that it was going to be character focused.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the transitions between past and present, my god, they are so good.
Oh
Like,
my god, like those
just-
transitions
yeah.
throughout the
It-
show.
Yeah, the transitions are gonna come up a lot, but like, it's just like how they can be like, it's just so flawless the way they just transition, like just effortlessly, like, and also you don't even need like any change of color or any like this is what time it is. Like sometimes it'll come up with Hill House the last night or Hill House night before, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's never like the year doesn't come up. You can just tell that it's clearly them. Like just through the editing, it's just so well done. Like you can tell which kid is Steven right away.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And I think like they do a really good job of with the editing to make sure that you know exactly who is on screen when, just so that
Yeah.
no one is confused at any point. So yeah, absolutely. And plus just how smooth the editing is when it comes to like transitions between time. It's like a door closes, boom, you know exactly where
Yeah.
you are, kind of thing. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's so good.
And hats off to Mike Flanagan, who wrote and directed the first episode.
Yes.
He also directed the whole season as well. But hats off to him. Great direction in this episode.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get to it eventually, but my god, there's an episode that is just near orgasmic. But like I think I'm kind of the opposite. I wouldn't say opposite of you, David, but I do think that episode 1 was incredibly strong in the perspective that it set up the skeleton to which everything, all the muscle and tendons are going to be thrown into. So as far as a setup goes, I thought it was incredibly strong and it was incredibly gripping.
Yeah.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. I just it's something that we've spoke about online, where I was like, oh, the episodes just got better and better and better.
They
So
do.
I know.
in contrast, the first episode's really good, but it's like in a larger context, it's like that episode. In my eyes, the episodes kept getting better and better and better.
Oh
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you mean there. Also, like I do love the fact that these guys are just perfectly okay with letting the actors talk and just not cutting anywhere. It's
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
oh my god. Even with the kids as well, and that was something that really surprised me because you've
Yeah.
got 5 kid actors, 2 of them are really young as well, and they didn't annoy me. In fact, I was like, wait, are you actually
No.
like 25-year-olds in like 3-year-old bodies or something? Because like, how are you this good?
Yeah. Oh, I was amazed by all the kid actors. I was just like, oh my god, these guys are so cool.
I know. it's-
Definitely.
Like I normally, sometimes you can just kind of tell. Yeah, they're kids. Obviously, it's hard to get kids to act, but these kids were like on the ball. It was so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So in tune with
definitely.
the characters as well.
Yeah, and then like the setup with intrigue as well, because like, oh, like, was this technically in their head? Is this something supernatural?
Yeah.
Is it not? Like setting everything up, and then I think it was really cool that we had one of, if not the most skeptical character as the focal point
The intro.
first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
then
I
we
think,
just
I
kind
think
of-
that was perfect. I
And
think
we-
that was perfect.
Yeah. And then just kind of descending through the insanity ranks bit by bit with each episode. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Definitely, and I think the way that they had Stephen be the first person to have focus of an episode, with him being the most skeptical, was the perfect way to kind of jump into the series, especially with the ending of the episode being where he sees Nell, because the entire way through the episode he's like, he's speaking to the woman whose husband just passed away, and he's completely skeptical about the entire thing, saying that he was skeptical about Hill House as well, and that it was all in the heads. And then the nail drops at the end of the episode, where in the title of the episode, Stephen sees a ghost. Finally saw one.
I also enjoy that he was put first because he kind of represents a stage of grief, which is bargaining, because obviously skepticism, not bargaining, denial. Denial. So like he's denying that there's ghosts, and like for a while, even after just seeing the ghost of potentially his sister, he's still like not willing to accept that he saw a ghost.
Yeah, and I think
absolutely, and
like this is going a bit further on, but it really speaks well to like his position on the family. Like it's like, to him it's a hereditary kind of mental illness rather than ghosts, so that really does make sense from his perspective, that I'm seeing Nell now, god damn it mom, kind of thing.
Definitely.
Which I can totally get that. Like, I love how it's also like basically a story about childhood trauma, and basically first episode is showing us how, because Stephen was like the oldest, like he kind of took it upon himself to be like the protector of all of his siblings, so it didn't really give him a chance to sort of be scared, really, or even consider it the possibility of it being ghosts.
And not even all that much time to process it.
I completely relate to that, because like I'm the oldest out of my siblings, and like I felt like
Stephen.
I'm not Stephen though. I just mean like I kind of get his position, because I feel like he tries really, really hard to sort of like distance himself, but also like tell his other siblings what to do, kind of thing.
No, I completely get what you mean, Veb. Like you, I'm the eldest of my siblings as well, and I completely understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm an only child. Does that make me Theo? Because she's right in the middle.
I guess so.
I can imagine being a middle child is the worst. But I wouldn't know, because obviously there's just me and my brother. But I was always like the older one, so I always felt like I had to protect my brother. It took me a while to get out of that like mentality, because obviously now he's in his 20s, so it's like he doesn't need protecting from anything. In fact, if anything, he's kind of the one who would protect me. He's like 6 foot tall and like massive, and I'm just like,
I would hope so.
Really small. Yeah.
But yeah, also setting up the Red Room, which is just gets the mind going in terms of imagination wise. It's like, my god, what is in that room? Not even the master key can open it. Oh my god.
Definitely. And I think going towards something that you said, Amy, about Stephen representing denial. I think it sets the stage for the rest of the characters going forward, and how they each represent a certain stage of grief.
I also love that, because I remember like our final film was based around grief, and I'm like, I feel like we're drawn to these like topics.
Very true.
Are you suggesting that we only find these topics entertaining and good?
No.
Patterns, my god, you can see them anywhere. But yeah, absolutely, it is kind of on point though, because like I think it's something I noticed, I think episode 2 or 3, like this yeah, it is a ghost story, it is a horror, but at the same time, it's far more of a family drama more than anything else, just really
Yeah.
focusing on grief, moving on from a loved one dying and stuff like that. So,
That's a big thing of horror, though. I mean, death is pretty scary, so it makes sense that it makes such a good topic for horror.
unless it's Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is true though. Like, death is kind of like the eponymous thing in horror. So, if you treat it seriously enough with good writing, my god, you can go places.
Mm.
And it's really cool how this episode was just character, 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 and then
Yeah.
the plot. I wouldn't even say the plot is overly complicated. It's just a very simple plot, just executed with razor sharp efficiency.
Definitely.
Definitely, and I think what you were saying about the story being rooted in character and themes like death. I think the best horror is really rooted in some semblance of our own reality and addressing themes such as death. Like you think of something like Get Out and the way that tackled social issues, you know, and racism. And I think that it's really important for stuff like horror to address those themes because there's stuff that we're all scared about, so it's natural to address that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I am nodding here, by the way. Just yeah, can't say no to that. Absolutely, I am nodding in a very audible way. Yeah, and also like I love how like you get to see his perspective on everyone, on his relationship with everyone else now. Like when he sees
Yeah.
Luke, he just doesn't even care about him anymore at this point, and it's like, oh god, look, I'll give you 100, leave the iPad with me. Like he's just that given up with Luke at this point, and he's like, oh god, what? And then it's like, oh, Luke being an addict and stuff like that, and it's very
Yeah.
very interesting how they so effectively communicate his status in terms of relationship with everyone in such an
Oh,
efficient
yeah.
manner.
I mean, it's basically very realistic because a lot of people who have to deal with any people who have addictions in their family, they tend to get fed up and not want anything to do with their family. Like, it sucks because it's like I think that's the main way addiction destroys families is because it puts you in a situation where you're just like, right, I can't anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just the way he was portrayed at the time as well. It's like you are very much on Steven's side, and then seeing a different perspective later on was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, like that's something I love about this show as well. Like in terms of story and content, it's very simple, but in terms of context, my god, there's a lot of it, and it can change your mind so instantly. It's
Oh
great.
yeah. Like
Definitely.
I started off sort of like you said, agreeing with Steven, and then as it got on, I was like, oh my god, I absolutely hate him. He's like my least favorite Crane in the show.
Oh, interesting.
Mainly just because of how he basically is a big massive skeptic, sure, but at the same time he seems unwilling to even try and help any of his siblings at this point, and by the sounds of it, out of all of them, he's done the most well for himself. So I feel like for me, I was just like, that just makes me dislike him.
I suppose, but
Like, understand him, but still dislike him in a way, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it really does depend on the perspective that we come into the show with as well, because, like, one can argue, okay, like, he tried, and the only way that he could get to this point is if he could get this book, but at what cost? And then I think that's actually really cool as well, because at this point in time, him now, like, he decides to do the book for the woman that he was talking to at the start because he wants to make her happy rather than thinking about the money. And I think he's at a different place in his life now compared to where he was. So I thought that was really cool as well. So it's just nuance, man. It's great.
I mean,
Definitely.
the main thing that made me dislike Steven as a character is in a much later episode, so I'll talk a bit more about why I don't like him later on.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Like-
sure thing.
Because I don't really want to like veer off into like later episodes since we're going episode by episode. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I will elaborate.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's the first episode, but hey, it's alright.
Seeing as we're talking about Stephen, I thought I'd bring up a little fun fact. So, in the original novel by Shirley Jackson, they change around certain characters, and there are different relationships between certain characters, and some characters don't exist in the
It's
novel.
barely recognizable from the original novel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are
Amy
lots
can speak
of,
to
like,
this more.
Yeah.
Like
I have been
references
reading the book.
and tidbits, that's about it really, so...
Yeah. But there is still a Crane family, just the Crane family aren't the main focal point. The main focal point in the book is it's a paranormal investigation, whereas this one is more like family oriented. And I think the fact that they changed it to be about the Crane family was a massive improvement, because in the book it just, I don't know, it feels much easier to sort of like distance yourself from the characters, whereas this way you are living the same thing the characters are living.
Yeah, you're completely involved in the situation.
Whereas in the book, obviously, it's not even in first person, it's in third person, and it's from different characters' points of view sometimes, but...
I mean, yeah, The Haunting, the Shirley Jackson original, was very much a different beast altogether.
It is, yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's very much a science experiment more than anything else, if we really get down to the bare bones of it. Like, that's why I kind of like I think it was the 70s adaptation of it, where it's like, is it supernatural? Is it psychological? It was really cool and ambiguous, and the Liam Neeson remake in the 90s just kind of demolished all of that, but you know, you can't win everything.
Yeah.
At least Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it, and that is good.
True. She is. One thing I did happen to have while I was reading the book, or rather, I'm listening to an audiobook of it.
How dare you?
But, yeah, to be fair, it was the only way for me to get it for free. So
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to audiobook this, and it's alright as an audiobook. But yeah, there were parts of it where I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize this bit. Like, I see how they've used that, but incorporated it in a different way. So I was like pleasantly surprised that there were still, they're like Easter eggs, but at the same time they've still taken them and worked them into the story somehow.
Yeah, I think in episode 2, actually, just to briefly jump ahead, seeing as we're on this Shirley Jackson tangent, her short story, The Lottery, is the book that Shirley, it's the book that she is reading. Oh no, it was the one Theo was reading at the time.
Yeah, it was Theo. Yeah. I also love that Theo's a character in the book, and they keep the character pretty much the same. Just she's not the Theo in the book is obviously not a Crane, so they changed Theo and made her into a Crane in this show.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I was saying, they change around certain characters in the book, and now that, as you were saying, Amy, they changed it to focus on the family of the Cranes. So they had to make up some characters. And fun fact about Stephen Crane, Stephen Crane is not in the novel. A character called Theo is in the novel. A character called Nell is in the novel, and a character called Luke is in the novel.
Yeah. Luke
However, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say Luke in the book is actually one of the people that owns Hill House.
Yeah. However, Stephen and Shirley are not in the novel. Now, Shirley is obviously named after Shirley Jackson, who wrote the
Yeah.
novel. However, Stephen, fun fact, is actually named after Steven Spielberg because the show is produced by Amblin Entertainment.
Ah.
Oh, sneaky. That's cool.
So, yeah, a little fun fact in there.
Nice.
hmm
So that's how Spielberg got his start. It's actually a shadow biopic.
Oh,
Alright.
one more thing I wanted to talk about. There's a really clever Easter egg in the titles, and it shows you all of the rooms being like. Basically, it shows you the floor plan of the house in the titles
Yeah.
in winding corridors, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love
It's
the
like,
intro to the show.
yeah, it's like, oh, how is this intro going to pay off, man? It's got to have a payoff. And it's like, oh, it does.
Ooh, it has a payoff.
I feel as though everything in the show has a payoff.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing what planning ahead can do to a story.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
it's almost like they tried, and it's wonderful. Throwing shade at Star Wars, of course. But yeah, is there anything else we want to talk about episode 1?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well then, we're going to be talking about Shirley Valentine next.
Oh yeah.
A very different
So-
Shirley.
Very different Shirley indeed.
Episode 2, Open Casket.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
This one definitely gave me the heebie-jeebies and definitely made me go, I never want to go to an open casket funeral ever.
It looks fun.
No, thank you. I have seen one dead body in my lifetime. I don't want to see any more. Keep the casket closed, please.
Well, I know what my funeral's going to be.
I'm just not gonna come up to the casket. It's fine.
Fair enough. So yeah, like pretty interesting. Last episode, Stephen was Amy's least favorite. Shirley is actually my least favorite.
I
Um,
mean, I can sort of see why people wouldn't like Shirley. She's a bit explosive, shall we say?
I mean, to be fair, everyone in this show is explosive, but
Very true.
She just seems to be able to kick off at everyone for the tiniest little thing, though, as well.
I mean, I think the main reason why I don't like her as much is because her as a character just feels superior to everyone else and belittles others as a result of that. It's like, Shirley, come on, give them a break, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
But
there's always one.
don't get me wrong, very well written. I just don't like her as a character, so that's all I'm saying. Emotionally,
I actually feel the same way. I actually feel the same way. Like Stephen and Shirley are my least favorite characters out of the 5 children. But if I were to pick a least favorite, I'd probably go for Shirley for the exact same reason as you, Dylan.
nice. But her episode though, very interesting, and I think the most interesting part about her episode for me was the kittens in the box
Yeah.
thing. I was like, ooh, okay, so 5 kittens, 5 children. Are we gonna have a house talk kind of scenario going on? You know, but you know, that it was kind of interesting because we got the one kitten dies first, and then the rest of the kittens dies, and then in the children's case, Nellie died first, the youngest, and then there's everyone else. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
is this foreboding?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like, is this suggesting that everyone's gonna die at the end, kind of thing? Which
Yeah,
I
it
was
really
like,
puts you on
I
edge.
wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. And even now in episode 2, it's like you're not completely sure what is
Yeah.
haunting you. Is it the house? Is it the spirits? Is it something else? So always keeps you on edge. Yeah.
Definitely.
And then trying to figure out who that guy with the cocktail martini is like, what?
Yeah.
Who are you?
What do you want?
Yeah,
Just
why are you
keeps
here?
appearing.
Yeah.
But
I think
yeah.
another. Oh,
Oh.
we all talked at once then.
Jinx.
Rude.
Who wants to go first?
I was just gonna say another thing that made me, I think, that creeped me out about this episode was a lot of it's in the morgue, and a lot of it's
Yeah.
like just her alone with the dead body of Nell. It's just very. This is just asking for creepy things to happen.
Oh, just to rewind slightly, how happy were you that the dad wasn't acting like an absolute moron when he was trying to escape Hill House? Like being quiet,
Oh,
being stealthy,
absolutely.
and just
Yeah.
not making noise. I'm like, oh my god, a smart character. How refreshing.
Yeah.
Um,
I like. Yeah, he's just literally like, just get out of the house. I'll tell you later. Get out. Go. Bye.
yeah.
And,
But,
and the way that he was with Stephen, where he was like, "Oh, close your eyes," and then don't look back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically he was like, just if you look back, you will see a ghost. So he was basically trying to spare his kids from any more trauma, and I very much relate to that. I'd be the same way. I've done that a few times where I've been watching a film with Mikey, and I've forgotten there's a scary part. So I'm like, close your eyes. Okay, you can open them again now. I did that with Jurassic Park 2, I think, because there's a scene where there's lots of blood coming out of this dinosaur's mouth because it's just eating someone, and I'm like, he doesn't like blood, so I'm like, just to be safe, I was like, I'm just gonna tell him to close his eyes because I was like, that's an awful lot of blood to see as a kid if you're scared of blood.
Oh, I was seeing bloodbaths by the time I was like 7 or 8, man. Like it, like
Yeah.
I watched some weird stuff when I was young. Anyway, yeah, brief tangent, just to
Yeah.
admire logic in a story from characters. But yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that it was set in a morgue, Amy, was kind of really interesting as well because it sets up character because there's a person who really wants to fix things at
Yeah.
all cost. And the fact that she works in a morgue and she's fixing dead people to look their best.
Yeah.
It kind of like this is something I just thought of. It kind of highlights her as a character as well because
Yeah.
she puts on the facade, and yet from episode 10 we know she's done things as well. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a mental affront as well as
Yeah.
it's an obsession to maintain that facade kind of thing. Like I thought that was really, yeah,
She's got an obsession with death and trying to deal with it because of the kittens. She had to deal with death. In fact, she wasn't really that young, was she, when she had to deal with the death? But it still clearly took a toll on her.
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
Because
yeah.
obviously, because then she's obviously trying to fix. Even when the person's dead, she's trying to fix them.
Definitely, and I feel as though the scene with the kittens, it really, even though she might not be everyone's favorite character, it kind of endears you to her in a way,
Yeah.
because you feel bad for her looking after these kittens, and you can tell that's also kind of how she's trying to look after her siblings as well at the same
Yeah.
time. Even though, like you said, she's trying to make them be the best people that they can be, and when they kind of step away from that, she kind of loses it. And
she's
I
a little
think,
bit of a. Yeah, sorry.
oh no, it's okay.
Karen, I was just gonna say she's a little bit of a control freak in that sense.
Definitely, and I think going along with the 5 stages of grief, where Stephen was denial, Shirley is anger.
Oh yeah,
Mm,
I mean, she's
yeah.
angry outbursts all over the place.
definitely. At all the members of a family, and it, like Dylan was saying, it's kind of she's greatly written character, but it's why she's my least favorite of the siblings, because she's always having it's as though she's always having a go at people.
Yeah. She, for me, best represents what having BPD feels like, because that is genuinely sometimes the level of anger I have at things. It feels inappropriate, and you do explode at people, and then you feel really bad about it afterwards. And I'm like, it's frustrating for me because I'm like, that kind of shows what's going on a little bit. Like, it's almost like she can't control her outburst. And that is very much kind of what BPD feels like.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting that she's also the only one of the Crane family to have a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Or at the very least, kids and a working marriage of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone else is at different stages of their lives, whereas Shirley, she's got a family of her own, which is very different from the rest of the family, and it kind of goes along with the theme of her trying to put on a brave face and being the best, kind of like the best family in a way, if you get what I mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The most stable of them all.
If anything, I feel like that's what causes the outburst, because she's trying so hard to be perfect, and it's like, sometimes you're not perfect and you gotta just accept it, but she's still like there putting the front up until literally she can't contain it anymore, and then she explodes at people.
And then not to skip ahead, but as we know, Shirley isn't perfect. Like, one of the things that she prides herself in is her family. And yeah, obviously we find out that she hasn't exactly been the most faithful herself.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my. But I think one thing I really appreciated in this episode is also, like, when the kids were asking her about Nellie's death, and she was just okay. And then the payoff to that comes later on as well, but her just saying, look, I'm sad, I don't know why she did it, just leave me alone, kind of thing. But, in a parental way, rather than the way I just did it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think, like, there are absolutely things about her to like, but the fact that she is so well written, and I can say, yeah, I hate her guts, but my god, she's well written,
Yeah.
Like, Mike Flanagan, my god, like, just don't stop making things, please.
Yes. Please make more.
Make all the things.
Yes.
But
I'm Dylan, a Twilight alum.
Oh yeah, she plays Esme, doesn't she?
I know how much you love Twilight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her and Carlisle, power couple.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, Carlisle. Seeing him in Nurse Jackie is weird. But
I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah, he's the dozy doctor.
Just
Literally.
not a vampire this time.
Yeah. But yeah, also, like, in the flashback stuff, like, even though we know that Mom goes a bit loopy at the end of all the events, really interesting how in these two episodes where is the quote-unquote stable kids, Mom is kind of portrayed as this angelic figure, bubbly,
Definitely.
happy, and all of that. And then it's like, two light switches, you know what that means? Like, come home. And then seeing the light switches in the forever home in her office go beep beep, I'm like, oh my god, it's time to come home, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Way, yeah, very, very good. even though like she wasn't my favorite character at the end of this episode, I was like, my god, this is a significant improvement on the first episode. My god.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, for me, the episodes kept getting better and better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, is there anything else to talk about of significance in episode 2?
No, I can't think of anything other than it's just really well done, and it creeped me out
Definitely,
in a
and
good way.
definitely, and you get deeper into the characters in episode 2 than you do in episode 1, and I think that's what I really appreciated about it, more so than episode 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like we get one focal character and little bits and bobs are being done for everyone else in the periphery as well. And interestingly, so far, Luke has probably gotten the least amount of work done so far.
I would
Yeah.
say so.
Yeah.
I think Luke got the least amount of development until his episode.
Yeah. And
Pretty much, yeah.
it's kind of cool from a writing perspective as well, because like the family doesn't really think much of Luke anymore. And it's only in Luke and Nellie's episode that you get the most Luke. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of cool. Because it,
Definitely.
in a really weird way, it kind of shows just how little they care for him at this point. It's like, oh, he's the fuck up brother who, like, who cares? Like, he's gonna be a druggie for the rest of his life, kind of thing. And then the two of them, the twins, you know, it's a twin thing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. But
Such a good cast.
oh my
Yeah,
god,
Such a good
everyone is.
cast.
It's like
Everyone's
casting
so good.
perfection. My god,
Yeah.
like
Everything from the the parents to the adult versions of the kids to the actual kids.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
yeah, I'm never seeing E.T. the same way again.
Oh, fun fact: Luke is also the Invisible Man in the
He
Invisible
is
Man.
indeed.
And
For-
I completely forgot that, and I was like, it's really weird seeing him play a character that's not a complete dickhead.
like for a second, I thought you were gonna say, "Fun fact: Luke was also in E.T." I was like, "What the hell?"
No, he plays the Invisible Man.
Okay, I still need to watch that. I probably watch.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Best way to get me to watch it is probably next week we've got a special guest maybe and talking about anime. But on one of these weeks is like an Invisible Man discussion. Watch it kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you got me to watch Hill House and Bly Manor in like a matter of a few days. It was, we're gonna talk about it, so I was like, okay, well, I better watch it then.
I mean, to be fair, we originally had like 3 weeks to talk about Bly Manor, but you just kind of steamroll through it. It's like, oh my god, I had to catch up with you.
Yeah. Once I like something, that's it. I'm very much into it, and it's just like a testament to how good it is that I managed to watch it in a matter of few days, because I literally couldn't stop watching it. It was like an addiction. I was like, I have to know what happens.
See, I'm kind of the
I
opposite.
completely agree with you. I was the same way.
That's it. That's the best way to keep me intrigued. Is if there's a mystery to it, then I will literally hyper focus on it.
Like, I'm kind of the opposite, because if I really love something, I let it simmer and just take my time with it, whereas if I don't like it, I'll hate watch it and get it over with.
Yeah. If I don't like something, it takes me a long time to get through it.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I have this weird thing where I gotta finish it, so I'm like, alright, get the shit out of the way so I can get to the good stuff kind of thing. Like,
If it's like one season or something, I can easily binge it. But if it's something like Game of Thrones, which I'm into billions, and it'll take time.
oh, you were cracking up for a second.
Oops. Hello.
Okay, yeah,
Hello.
you're fine.
Okay. Yeah. It just really depends, I think, on season length and whether I like the thing. Like, I like Game of Thrones, but I'm not like, I must carry on watching it immediately.
I mean, you kind of already know how it ends, don't you? So I think that helps in the not watching it part. I mean, if I knew the ending of Game of Thrones and I knew, oh, this is what all this good stuff is leading to, I'd be kind of demoralized in going through with it as well.
I'll be honest. I don't think I'll ever rewatch it after
That's
the
fair.
ending.
I know, right? Like, and it's not even like one episode, because if that's the thing, it's like, all right, I can put up with it, but it's one entire season of garbage, and then it's just
And then the last episode was like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
flip me, yeah. And it sucks as well because like the first 2 episodes of season 8 were like, oh my god, peak Thrones, and then episode
Yeah,
3
exactly.
happened, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell happened? Did you guys forget how to write again? I'm like, oh. But
Sorry, I brought Game of Thrones up. I did this.
oh well.
No. No, I mean, I don't mind not knowing the ending, and obviously the ending's bad. Like, I still will go and watch it because I'm like, I want to see how it got to that point.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, it's
Well,
a good
with-
journey until
Yeah.
the end.
With Hill House, though, with Hill House, it was like the episodes are an hour long, but it felt like about
So much
15
shorter.
minutes each time, and I was like, no.
And
So
it's
like, I just had to keep going.
and it's incredible because all it is are just people sitting and talking, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so engaging.
And the
Yeah.
odd scare here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And you never know what's gonna happen either.
and
Yeah.
the fact that
Brilliant.
the writers have the balls to just have a monologue halfway through and just be so fluidly integrated into the scene. I'm like, oh my god, have all the monologues, dude. Do as many as you want.
Yeah. Like, it's a testament to your writing if the monologues aren't even a little bit boring. Like, you are paying attention to literally every word.
I know. You know, it's oh my god, just if you aren't convinced yet, just fucking go watch it, dude. It's just
Yeah.
um,
So we're on episode 3 now,
we are on episode 3.
which is Luke's episode. if I
No,
remember. I
it's
can't-
Theo's.
Theo.
Oh, Theo's. Yeah, sorry. Completely forgot about that.
Not gonna lie, halfway through this episode, I'm like, Theo's my favorite character.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Theo
Oh my
is
god,
just
like
wonderful. I love her.
she is just top tier character, and I just fucking love her. Oh my god.
Like-
Kate Siegel is so good.
Like, if I wasn't already bisexual, I think she would have awakened my bisexualness. Just
I
saying.
mean, I mean, she's confirmed I'm straight, so
She's
if
just
that's any
reconfirmed.
consolation. I mean,
She
I
just
already
reconfirmed,
knew,
like,
but yeah, geez, like this episode, my god, like
Blew me
so
away.
much happened and so much
Yeah.
character. I'm like, oh my god. Oh.
Oh, this episode is called Touch Me. I remembered the title.
Oh my. Right now? What? Touch me right now? No. Okay.
Oh wait, yeah. Oh wait, no. I was laughing then, but it didn't pick up for some reason.
Okay. Okay. See,
It did make me laugh.
I will choose to believe you.
Okay.
But yeah, Theo, my god, like, even her kid version, man, like they were
Yeah.
both stellar.
No,
That's
there's
so
a
great.
reason why McKenna Grace is a star right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's a really good child actress.
So good. Oh.
But yeah, this one on Theo, and well, she's going home with women, which is great, fantastic. I get someone attractive to come buy drinks for attractive women with me. But
Yep.
yeah, in addition to that, we also get the knowledge that she might have forceisms going on. You know, just she might be force sensitive, and it makes a lot more
Possibly.
sense. Makes a lot more sense than Ray friggin' Palpatine.
Yep. Fun fact, she also doesn't like being touched in the book. I don't think it's confirmed that she has any powers or anything, but the character of Theo in the book is very much similar to the character in the show.
Isn't
She just...
I could
hasn't
just be
heard.
misremembering, but in the book, isn't she like a germaphobe or something? I could be wrong.
I can't. I don't know, but it's like I'm only on chapter 4 of the book, but up to
Okay.
chapter 4, she's not germophobic, but she doesn't like being touched. She does specifically say, "I don't like being touched."
Okay. I'm just misremembering then.
Yeah. And doesn't she tell like a story about throwing a stone through a window and her mum like hit her because of it?
Yeah, I think that was like episode 8 or something.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm jumping
I
ahead
think
there.
so.
Yeah, it was during the
Okay, well-
funeral or just after the funeral.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll wait to talk about that when we get to that episode then. But yeah, Theo's just a great character.
Oh
I
yeah.
completely agree. I thought it was. I feel as though Theo was the character that we got most in depth with out of the 3 children so far.
Yeah. I love that she's kind of the one that's like. Didn't she have a couple of scenes with Luke where she's like accidentally lowers him into the cellar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time that
Oh
I was
my God.
genuinely
I
on
was
the
like,
edge of my
I'm
seat.
terrified this poor kid's gonna die, but obviously he doesn't. But I was like, I feel like he's gonna
I
die.
felt
Like-
so bad for the 2 of
I
them in that
know.
scene.
I
Like
was just
Luke,
like, oh.
I mean, the sheer tension
like
when that
obviously
hand
for
came from
Luke,
round the
but
corner.
also for Theo.
Oh God. Oh. That ghost
Definitely.
gets me. Just like,
Oh.
oh my God.
It is just. And then Theo, fucking Chad, having the balls to go down there by herself. I'm like,
I
holy
know, I
shit,
was like,
dude.
oh my God, she is braver than when I was a kid. I wouldn't even go downstairs in my house when it was dark. When I was a kid, like I'd be like, no. For some reason, I was terrified of my kitchen. I'd be like, I can't go and get a snack because I'll get eaten by something. That's
it's
how
like-
my child brain worked. I don't know.
It is really cool though, because like in that moment, it shows just how passionately she cares for her siblings. That
Yeah.
all right, you are telling the truth. I'll prove them. I'll prove you right, bro. I've got your back, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
like
When he
that's
was
really
like, no one
cool.
believes me. Yeah, when he was like, no one ever believes me. And she's like, do you know what? I believe you and I'm going to prove it. So she's like, where is it? And he shows her and she's like, right, I'm going to prove it. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I love those two. Because
Yeah,
a sister-brother dynamic. I was like, I love that.
I mean,
that's
one could
so
argue they are
awesome.
sister and brother.
Well, yeah,
I,
the dynamic between the two of them specifically is what I meant.
Yeah, I got you.
I think that was fantastic because you know that she knows that he was screaming for a reason. So
Yeah.
she could have been attacked at any moment.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she still went down there, kept it cool, and got the job done.
Yeah. And she
Yeah,
was like,
absolutely.
see, he was telling the truth.
And it's really cool how, like, through the episode, you just kind of go, oh, she felt a bottle in a box. And then by the end of the episode, she's having a full breakdown because she touched her dad on the night they were leaving. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God. Like,
Oh, that would mess you up.
and then, like,
Definitely.
knowing that there's the build up and then seeing the stuff with the foster dad in the home and stuff like
Yeah.
Oh
that.
yeah.
Knowing just how her powers work, touching Nellie in the morgue and
Oh,
seeing her
that was
break down
horrible.
would have just
Yeah.
been like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, that is pretty much a really good scare, and at the same time, it's like a really good, oh my God, this poor character.
Yeah, because
Because
like,
at that point, you're like, oh my God, she must have died in a horrible way.
yeah, because like on the one hand, you're thinking, okay, there's one of two things going on here. Is she seeing? Because, I mean, in a very simplified way of describing it, she is an empath, you know.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, is she feeling her last moment or is she feeling just nothing? And it's like, well, we know the answer, but just either way, just the sheer emotion of it. And then Touch Me comes into play because she calls the girl back and then she just wants to just get rid of that feeling. So it's
Yeah.
like just contrasting that with her saying to her dad, don't touch me, and then her going, touch me to the girl. It's just,
very cool. Yeah,
Absolutely, and it must also be very traumatic in that moment because obviously, you know, she lived in Hill House and she had the traumatic last night. But when you think about everything that she must have touched at one point in her life, and
Yeah.
even in the show, just the amount of feeling that she must have felt and trauma from the horrible events, whether it be from touching her dad on the night or touching the place the uh, where the little girl was with the foster dad,
Yeah.
or then obviously, as you mentioned, with Nell, that must have been horrific.
It'd
Oh,
be enough
yeah.
not to touch anyone again, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's like, oh, stay away from me.
Which is exactly what she doesn't want to do.
Yeah, well, like, you know what? I don't blame you. I completely with you there. I wouldn't want to touch anyone either if I had to deal with what they were feeling as well as what I'm feeling. Like, oh no.
I'd avoid everyone.
Yeah, I did
Like,
I did like the scene where her mum gives her the gloves almost as if to say, I know how you feel because I have something similar. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, do all the females have some kind of power then?
Yeah, that's what she implied. Because she was telling the story of the first day there, and she was talking to Nelly, and she was like, oh, what do you think of the house? And then Nelly just goes, it's loud. And I was like, oh, that's a weird response. Okay. So
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's so much with Shirley, but definitely the two sisters do have tisms going on.
Yeah.
Especially with, as we see with Nell in episode 5.
Yeah.
Which we will get to eventually.
Yeah.
But
Gotta go.
Sorry?
Gotta go to the. I was going to say, gotta go through the Luke episode first.
Oh.
Very true.
Yeah, true. Is there anything else about Theo that we want to talk about? Oh, her being a child psychologist. Very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Very true.
I mean, it's kind of cool that that she's a child psychologist, knowing what she's gone through, and it's like,
yeah,
and her reasoning for it makes total sense as well. Like, okay, these kids need someone to talk to. I can be that someone, so I'm going to, and she does.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Theo, Chad.
Definitely.
She's also definitely the bargaining part of Stages of Grief.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, it's like, it's really cool that you've got the semi-skeptical person right in the middle before we go right off the deep end with the next two.
Yeah.
The most affected of all the Crane children.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing because if things happen to you at a young age, the trauma is almost definitely worse for you as an adult, I would say.
Yeah, and it sticks with you for the rest of your life. Like, if it happens to you when you're a little older, obviously, it's bad. But if it's when you're a child, even subliminally, it's going to affect you on some level.
Well, yeah, I mean, mainly because if you're that young, like, you don't understand what's going on.
So exactly.
Yeah.
You just know that it's something scary, as we saw with the little girl that Theo was helping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how she used the bricks and wall metaphor to try and get her to help her in some way. Yeah. And then, like, this is kind of heartbreaking, like, the fact that, you know, she calls her friend in social services and it's like, how many times have I been wrong? It's like, you just kind of wonder, how many times has this kind of thing happened? And I'm like,
That's, yeah. And then when she's explaining her day to the girl who comes over and she's like, this is what happened. And
oh my god, another good monologue. Like, she's got so many good monologues.
Like, she does, and I'm like, that's just actually depressing because even though she's called social services, she knows that poor girl's gonna go back into the system, and it's not necessarily gonna work out. So like at the end of it, when she's like, "Yay me," it's like not really, because how much did I help really?
One less predator in the world, but kids destroyed. So
Yeah.
scales even, I
Exactly.
guess.
That's the thing. She's like, I can't even celebrate it as a win because it's like that poor kid's not any closer to being okay.
Yeah, and
Like,
who's
sure,
to say it won't happen again?
that's probably what she's
And
thinking
that's
too.
terrible.
Yeah. So you kind of have to sort of feel for her there. You're like, yeah, it must really suck, and it kind of is a bit suggestive that how many times has she had to do this?
And in any amount of situations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Cringe.
This was a heavy episode, and
It
talking
was.
about it isn't as helpful.
No.
It's still heavy.
Definitely, and it's only about to get heavier.
Oh,
it
Jesus,
is
yeah.
getting much heavier.
We're going on to Luke now, aren't we?
Yeah, episode 4, which is called The Twin Thing.
The twin thing.
Right. So, which one of you two wants to talk first on Luke? Because I feel like I started off the last couple. So,
Okay.
Amy, would you like to go next?
Sure, I will happily. I really liked this episode, and I just felt really sorry for Luke the entire time. I'm just like, this sucks. Poor
Yeah.
dude's had to see like some horrors when he was a child, and it's clearly caused him to like fall into a like addiction. And then on top of that, because obviously you get like from when he was a kid, you get he didn't feel like anyone believed him then, and then as he's gotten older, like when he's managed to last like a long time without taking drugs, no one believes him still, and you just feel like the poor dude. You just feel for him, I think.
Absolutely, and I think that it when you take in the entire series, especially this episode, you just really get the sense that Luke has had like a really, really rough deal in life.
Yeah.
And everyone around him they all just disappear in a way.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider everything that happened with his mum, and
Yeah.
then I don't want to get into it too much, but friends,
Yeah.
what happens with Nell, and then also his friend from rehab as well.
Yeah.
yeah. That entire episode, though, was kind of like, especially when it comes to him looking for his friend from rehab, it was like there was kind of a real futility to it. Like, you as an audience member knows, this dude, just don't. But then he believes in her, and that's just like, and then when she finally does leave him and takes his money, you're like, Luke, I can't even be mad at you.
I know. It's so sad though, because he's obviously like, well, no one's ever believed me, so I'm gonna like give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna believe them, and he gets taken advantage of, and it's just really sad to see. And it's just like, this poor dude's trying so hard, and no one will give him a break. And then there's also the fact that he's still seeing the bloody ghosts everywhere.
Oh my god,
Like,
that ghost though. Oh,
The bowler
yeah.
hat ghost is just so freaking creepy.
it's like
He's so skinny and just ugh.
his introduction though. Like, at first you're like, oh, is that a coat rack or something? And then it moves.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my
You're
god.
like, it's floating.
And it's so, because it's like a really old man hunched over, but he's floating and
Yeah.
using the walking stick. I'm like, oh my god, like it's
Oh,
such a cool
creepy.
design.
It's
Yeah.
so unnerving, and
Yeah.
that scene where when Luke is hiding underneath the bed,
Oh,
I was holding my breath the entire
Oh,
time as
I
though I
know.
was in the
Like,
scene with Luke.
I didn't even realize it because, like, when he, like finally goes, "Oh God, I've got to breathe." Like, I did the same thing, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot. I forgot how to breathe for a second."
It's such a good thing to watch something and feel
Yeah.
so immersed in it.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh my God,
And then
very spooky."
when the kid just does breathe, it's like, oh no.
Like, oh, because it goes out of the rooms, doesn't it? And then it's like it hears him breathing, comes back in, and I was like, and then it's like looking under the bed, and you're just like, oh fuck.
Oh, like that entire moment was just masterful.
Yeah, like that's how you do spooks right.
I know, and the
Just
spooks.
suspense.
We haven't even spoken about the spooks yet. Yeah, that's
It's all been character that we've
Yeah,
talked about.
like
I
up to this
know.
point, it's all been character, but now is where it starts getting pretty spooky.
And it's like you said, so far we've dealt with the characters who are most skeptical, and now we're in the deep end.
Yeah.
we're with the characters who are most affected by Hill House.
Well, given that Luke was only like 6 when this happened, like that would traumatize you on its own. And he sees that ghost, like he's already had to deal with the ghost in the cellar. Then he's had to deal with the really thin, creepy dude, and it's just like poor kid.
I don't really blame the dude
Yeah,
for, like, trying to chill out the best way that he can.
yeah.
And it's
Ugh.
so cool how they actually had the link between the two of them set up as well, him and Nellie, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's a twin thing. It's like, and then him telling the story of, oh, I broke my leg one time, and she called me saying, oh hey, is your leg okay? I kind of had
Yeah.
shooting pains. What's up? Like, oh, I kind of broke
Yeah.
it. Uh,
Oh, and
Yeah.
the fact that like she goes through withdrawal with him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the shivers
Oh.
that she was talking about.
Yeah.
And then just
They really build up the relationship between Luke and Nell really well in episode 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They show them
absolutely.
as kids as well, and it's like, why are you awake? Well, I'm awake because Nell's awake, and it's like it's done really well.
yeah.
And the transitions again, there's one scene that like really made me take more notice of the transitions, and it's like Luke gets off, he jumps off the stairs as a kid and lands as an adult, and I'm like, oh, that's such a good transition.
Like all the transitions are just top tier in this show. It's just
Like, oh,
but
I
I think
loved the last scene in episode 4 where
oh, he's walking barefoot and the guy's
Oh.
behind him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
he's counting to 7, and it just gets closer and closer, and it's just like, oh no.
But it's
and
like
then obviously Steven turns up as well.
yeah. But it's like even the way the 7 thing was set up as well, and then you realize just how close he holds Nellie in high regard. It's just when they were scared, it's like, okay, count to 7. You, me, mom, dad, and the 3 siblings. It's like, oh my god, just oh.
Oh yeah.
But,
It's so heartbreaking. Like, that something's obviously happened and something else is about to happen. It's like a domino effect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact
Also-
that his body, his arms and legs are getting cold, it's like he's
Yeah.
experiencing literal death because
Oh,
of her. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh no.
Oh yeah, I hate that bit. Was horrible. It's just like, oh, he's obviously going through everything she's going through.
And do you know what? One of my favorite moments was from when they discovered the quote unquote telephone to the master bedroom.
Oh yeah.
And then they hear a noise, him
Oh.
and Nellie, and he was like, what was that? And Nellie's like, you're scared. How do you know? Because I'm scared.
Yeah. Also, one question: how the hell did Luke's eyesight get so much better? Because damn, the kid looked like he had serious prescription glasses, and then he's just magically not even wearing contacts. It's like, what the heck happened there?
Laser eye.
Did he get bitten by a spider?
He put on a smooth Scottish accent and moved to England. That's what happened.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about Bly Manor in time. My God.
Yeah.
Obviously, Luke's depression.
Oh yeah. Luke is very clearly depression.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
Can you blame him? Like, if I had to go
Not
through
at
that
all.
crap when I was 6, I would probably. Oh wait, I have depression anyway. Never mind. I was gonna say I probably would have depression, but like, oh wait, no, it's okay. I already have it.
I suppose you could say even severe depression.
Well, yeah, seeing literal ghosts probably wouldn't help your depression, though.
That would mess anyone up, really, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
I suppose
Especially-
it depends on the kind of ghost. Like, if it's with
Yeah.
Casper and he's got a ciggy in his mouth with a beer, I'm like...
That'd amuse me. I guess you could argue, like, that's kind of what depression is sometimes, seeing ghosts. And also, another thing
Absolutely.
that ties into it is when you're depressed, quite a lot of people tend to not believe you about how bad it is.
Yeah, it is, though it's not as bad
Yeah.
as you think it is.
And
Because
it's...
they don't go through it. Like,
I think that aspect of depression is really highlighted in the interaction that we show between him and Steven during his 30-day
Yeah.
mark.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And also, like, talking about ghosts, to go back to the first episode real quickly, Steven talking to the woman, it's like ghosts can be anything. It can be a memory, it can be a person, it can be a thing, you know. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting as well. So
Yeah.
A running theme throughout the entire series.
It's so good.
metaphor is wonderful.
It is.
I love the fact that I think it's the last couple of lines of the episode where Steven tells Luke that Nellie's dead.
Yeah.
I think he's like, oh, she killed herself, and then Luke's just like,
No, she didn't.
no, she
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, he's literally like, no, I know what happened because I felt it.
Yeah, and plus, like, Luke's performance when he finds out that Nellie's dead, he's just like, oh my God, you can see his heart breaking. I'm like, my God, man, you're a good
Yeah.
actor.
Oliver
It's very
Jackson
good.
Cohen was fantastic in that moment.
Oh, like, once again, man, casting in this show is top tier.
Yeah. God tier.
Oh, God tier, one could say. But,
You know what? Thinking about it, it was kind of apt that you brought up Game of Thrones before, because is it Mikhail Huseman who plays Stephen? He was on Game of Thrones.
oh yeah, Dario, wasn't it?
Oh. I
Yeah.
wondered why I recognized him. I was like, I know you, but I don't know what you're from.
Yeah, he was Dragon Lady's boy toy for a while.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
The replacement for Ed Skrein.
I mean, hey, you know, what a replacement.
Mm.
You got Francis or Steven?
Should we
Oh,
get
actually,
on to... Ooh.
that kind of reminds me, like, there's a Deadpool reference in my Ilona Holmes video that I'm working on. So hey,
Woo.
it is coming. I've decided to put it in different chunks as opposed to one solid video. So
Oh, fair.
it's gonna be
Very
like
nice.
7 videos, 20 minutes each.
Can I also say, and it's completely unrelated to Hill House.
Oh
but-
yeah, sure. I mean, neither was what I was saying. So
I know, but it's related to what you were talking about.
oh no.
Is it a no?
Relationship free.
Oh yeah.
Very nice. I really
Oh.
like it, my friend.
Oh, that's good.
Especially the ending, with how it kind of leaves off the conversation, shall I say.
Yeah, I mean, See, there's a very simple reason why. It's because, do you know what? I've kind of built up the reason why she doesn't want to share. It's just nothing I say is going to be good enough, and I don't know what's good enough yet, so I'm just going to leave it at that. That's it.
Well, I quite liked it.
That's good, man. I'm glad you liked it. Oh, yeah. Like, legit, that's probably the best performance I've ever seen Tom give, and I told him that as well. So it's the one compliment he's gotten from me.
Oh. Okay, I need to see this film then.
Oh, yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you enjoyed
No
it.
problem. Should we move on to what could be the most heartbreaking episode of the season?
Oh, well, I mean,
It's
we
also
could do.
my favorite episode.
I probably it might be mine.
Mine's episode 6, but
Episode 6
Fair.
is fantastic.
my god, episode 5's close.
Episode 5 is like officially my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 4 stages of grief and 4 siblings. Logically speaking, we come to the youngest, Nellie.
Mm-hmm.
Could she even
Bent
be?
neck lady.
Oh,
The bent neck lady.
Episode
Freaking
5,
creepiest
the bent
ghost
neck
ever.
lady.
but could she even be counted as acceptance, though?
I mean,
I would say so.
I would say yeah, because she's kind of has to come to terms with being dead.
She is
Fair enough.
acceptance because she is dead.
No, it's not because she's dead. It's more, I would say, when she's a ghost
Okay, okay.
later on. It's more the acceptance part. Like this episode, definitely, you could argue it's not really acceptance because she's just got to come to terms with it.
Hmm.
And it's literally, this is the episode, like everything leading up to it, isn't it? So
Yeah. I mean, one could say that because she is dead, she is now officially the most stable of the lot.
yeah, just
I think that you could argue that it still really is acceptance in a way because their family have been running from Hill House.
yeah, she
and
goes
then
back
at
to
the
it.
end, she goes back to Hill House.
Which, let's be honest, what terrible advice from a shrink.
Oh my god, yeah, that shrink was
Yes.
the worst. I was just like, what the hell?
Awful
You should go
advice.
back to the house that caused all your trauma. Just go and face the trauma head on, because that works.
It's like, have you guys seen Snatch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you know that scene where Vinnie Jones is introduced and he's just smashing a guy's head in with a car door?
Yeah.
I can just imagine Theo going out to meet this doctor and it's like, you, come here, and then
Oh, yeah.
bang!
She was like, he's a quack, he needs to go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to agree with Theo, he's an idiot. No therapist will tell you to go and face your trauma head on.
Oh, I just remembered. Fun fact about that therapist. I could be wrong, but I believe that might be one of the stars of the 1963 adaptation of The Haunting.
I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, I heard it very briefly. I could be wrong, but
let me double check.
I think it's true.
Doubly check.
Haunting of Hill House. Let's go to episodes because it'll be much easier. Episode 5. Come on, chop chop. Okay. See full cast. Dr. Montague Ross Tamblyn was in the original Haunting as Luke.
Oh, nice.
He was in Drive
Oh, okay.
and Twin Peaks. Jeez, he's been around.
Oh wow! I think that it's really interesting that obviously they weren't siblings in the original Haunting film, but I think that it's really cool that the Luke from the original one is now Nell's therapist. Like I think that's a really cool Easter egg.
He was in Django Unchained.
Was he? Oh my god! I only ever watched that film once. I could only watch it once because there were some scenes in that film where I just couldn't stomach it. I was just like, no.
It was good, wholesome entertainment.
Okay.
I enjoyed it the time I watched it, but after that I was like, I don't think I have the stomach to watch this film again.
I really like the movie, but I haven't seen it after the first time too.
It was I watched it once to say I've watched it, and now I'm done.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I've only ever seen it once as well, but I really enjoyed it, so, oh well.
I guess there are some things where you just enjoy them once, and then you're just like, I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, I think in a weird way, I don't think I rewatch a lot of Tarantino stuff, to be honest.
Same
The
here.
only
to
one
be
I
honest.
rewatch is Pulp Fiction because that's one of Ryan's favorites.
Ah,
Probably the only favorite he has.
I
fair enough.
don't think I've ever rewatched a Tarantino
Yeah.
film.
I've rewatched Kill Bill
Mm.
and Pulp Fiction, that's about it. Everything else, like, I've only watched Reservoir Dogs once, Django Unchained once. I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen that many of his other films.
I've only seen Kill Bill and Hollywood twice. That's it.
I still need to watch Hollywood.
It's alright. Ending
it's
is worth
best.
it, though.
Oh, the
Oh,
ending's
fair.
great.
Ending is so worth it.
Cool.
Like, I
And
remember...
I
Oh?
believe Victoria Pedretti is actually in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yes, she is.
Probably. I love Victoria Pedretti, but my introduction to her was in the show You. And she...
Oh, the one with fucking Penn Badgley.
Yeah,
Ah,
that was my introduction to her as an actress, and I was like, oh my god, she's insane. I love her.
But yeah, she's one of she plays one of
The Manson girls, innit?
Manson family, yeah,
yeah.
in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So we're finding connections everywhere.
We are. We are.
Um, But yeah, episode 5.
Oh god,
What
yeah,
do you
Hill
guys
House.
think?
Do you know what? Can we just admit that this is the one episode where we've got the most amount of lightheartedness?
Yeah.
And
That's
like,
actually a really weird fact, but I think
It's
you're
very
probably
weird,
right.
yeah,
this
it's like, oh my
episode
god,
has-
she meets the doctor or sleep therapist, whatever he wants to be called.
Yeah.
Oh, he asks her out in an awkward way. They get married. Oh, they find out
Nice and
Theo's lesbian
heartwarming.
or gay.
Oh,
It's all
the way they
happy.
found out Theo's lesbian is so funny.
Like,
Yeah.
no joke.
They're like, wait, who's there? I reckon it's this dude called Kevin or something, and it's just like Theo walks out.
It's like, no joke. Like, sometimes.
Wholesome. There's such a wholesome moment.
Yeah.
Like-
I love how they're waiting for Shirley to realise as well. Because like stood there watching her go and wait for it.
Uh,
Her face.
It
so
took her
good.
10 minutes.
Like
But,
the
like-
face Shirley pulled, I'm sure that's the face my dad pulled when I told him I was bisexual. It's so funny.
Like, no joke. Like, sometimes when I'm watching something and I'm invested, it's like, if a character's about to talk, I'll say something. It's like, and if that's what the character talks, I'll be like, I like this character. He'll say what I'll say. And then
Yeah.
when Steven stayed behind, I was like, I want to see who's in there. And it's like, I want to see who's in there. I'm like, oh my god, Steve, my bro.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if ever we're in a family, I am the Steven.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who are me and Amy?
I don't know.
Oh,
You pick. I pick myself.
I hate it, but I think I might be the Shirley.
Oh, so you're gonna hate me.
No, actually, no. I
So-
have Shirley's temper, but I think I would say I'm probably more.
Okay, so David is in a bit of an odd spot at the moment because he can be the dad, or Luke, or one of the
Yeah.
girls, and I don't think it's Theo.
I don't think I'm I think I wish I was Theo, but I don't think I'm cool enough to be Theo, so I think I'm Nell. As depressing as that is. I'm gonna die. Well, I mean, I am eventually.
I'm not. I don't think I'm Luke. I do like Luke though.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm Stephen. I'm not Theo. I'm not Shirley.
You are the dad or mom. Or one of the Dudleys.
Or one of the Dudleys, yeah. I'm not sure who I am.
I'd say that, like, I feel like you have a similar, like, the dad seems quite cheerful as a character.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
could
you're-
see me being Hugh.
Yeah, I would say you're more like him. I don't know who I am. Like, I say I might be Nell, but like, what do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
I'm not
I-
too
I-
sure. Maybe, yeah.
yeah. I can see it, but then again, these characters are so well written. Anyone could be
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Very,
I mean,
very relatable.
my brain just goes to I'm probably a smush of all three of them, but I
Oh,
have a lot of Luke traits, given that I've suffered from depression a lot as well.
so that means you are Luke by default.
Okay, fair. I'm Luke then.
All right, cool.
At least he doesn't die.
Yay! Okay, so I think this is the first time it comes to a point where in retrospect, I'm not too happy with the way it was handled. Like
Oh, okay.
the husband's death being a freak accident. I'm like, yeah, you wanted the death, but you didn't want it to be the bent neck lady. But
Yeah.
that just seemed kind of like, I mean, it didn't break the immersion, or it didn't make it like, oh, this show is bad now. But I'm like,
No.
I mean, you wanted the
It's
death. It's a freak accident. It can happen, so I'm okay with it. But I'm like, after all the thought you put in, it just feels like you just wanted the death there, and it
Yeah.
had to be ambiguous. So I think that's the first time I was like, I'm not too cool
Yeah.
with it.
I mean, my brain went to, did she literally just snap his neck? Because, like, that would have made sense. She's a bent neck lady. Like,
Yeah.
my theory behind the bent neck lady before I found out who it was, which we'll talk about in a minute, my theory was she's angry that she broke her neck, so she wants everybody else's neck to get broken. Like, if I was a ghost, an avengeful one at that, and I had my neck broken, that's how I would kill my victims, because I'd want them to feel that way. So let's
Yeah.
hope I don't become a ghost, shall we?
Fair enough. So,
So
or at
I
the very
thought
least,
that's what had happened.
or at
to
the very
him.
least, if you
Anyway.
are going to die and turn into a ghost, I'll make sure you die by eating ice cream.
Yeah, so I forced the ice cream to people.
So it's like, instead of people getting the head snapped, it's just like force feeding ice cream into people. It's like until they just choke on ice cream and die.
Yep.
I thought it was a really heartbreaking episode because you see
Oh,
the
yeah.
highs and lows of her life.
Oh yeah. You're like,
see
oh,
her
she
at
got
it.
married, and oh, she looks so happy, and then oh my god, he died.
And then it just slowly gets worse and
Yeah.
worse and worse. And then you see all the dots connecting
Yeah.
between everything that happened with her and Luke, and
Yeah.
her buying the drugs for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
It's like at the same time as well, Luke seeing the meds that she's on, even he was like, okay, I gotta be serious this time. You know, so when that contextualizes his 90 days all the more in retrospect.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel as
Um,
though she was as much as she was the most affected by Hill House, maybe not. I don't know. It's really a toss-up between her and Luke.
I feel like she briefly had like some respite from Hill House because obviously she met her husband. So I think you can argue Luke is the worst affected because he's the one that's stuck in an addiction that he can't even break out of. Like she briefly gets a break from the bent neck lady issues and the sleep paralysis. And then obviously it gets all undone obviously when he dies, but I feel like during her life she got some happiness. Like it feels like poor Luke's life's just been a massive downward spiral since they left Hill House, basically.
I'd even argue since they were in Hill House.
Well, yeah, since he saw the first ghost, I would say his entire state of mind's probably downhill.
Absolutely, and I thought the way that, of course, we see her go to Hill House in the first episode, but seeing exactly what transpired that night, it's just heartbreaking to see what happened.
Also, did you catch on I think Dylan brought it up, but the whole come home, the porch lights flashing twice. That is just if you don't pay attention to that, like you could blink and miss it, but like if you've been paying attention to the whole thing and you see the house do that, it's all the more eerie. It's like, oh, don't go in there.
Yeah. Hill House isn't a nice boy.
No. And also the fact that she sort of regresses to like childlike state right before she goes in as well. I was like, that's quite eerie. Like she starts calling her dad daddy, and it's like, whoa.
It's like she's in a trance.
Well, yeah, she kind of is in a trance.
She
by
is
the time
kind
she
of.
gets in there, isn't she?
From the moment she enters, she is kind of in a trance because she sees all the siblings and the parents in the old age rather than new age. So
yeah, but you could use that as an allegory for mental health. That it's sort of like being in a trance.
It's kind of interesting because in a really weird way, that version of things is almost like, this is before we knew what the house was really about. It's like the house was kind of picking the most ideal version of her life and then allowing her to live it just before quote unquote killing her.
Yeah. I was confused. Like I was like kind of like, is the house giving her these visions or is it the mum on purpose? Because the mum was like sort of the thing that was like come home. And she writ come home on the wall. So I was like, is it the mum's ghost that's kind of causing these like visions to try and convince her to kill herself, basically?
I was really hoping that it wasn't the mom, because from everything that we have seen, she seems to be just as much of a victim as everyone else, and I feel if it was her as opposed to the house, that would really hurt her as a character.
Yeah. I wasn't, like, that's what I mean, I wasn't sure. Like, it's starting to seem very... But, like, it seems like the house just used the ghost of her mum rather than the fact it was her mum, because the house itself is kind of like a monster.
Like Monster House.
But yeah, it's almost like the house is like feeding off people's negative energy, isn't it? So
absolutely, like we see that obviously later in the series with the Dudleys as well.
Yeah, but yeah, just the way that it all transpires, because as soon as she gets to the top of those stairs, you're like, she's going to die. And I was like, I felt really bad, because it was literally like the mum giving her that necklace that she said she'd give her. And in reality, it was a noose. And then by the time she's realised, it's far too late. But I thought that the shot where she literally goes through every version of being the bent neck lady, I was like, oh my god,
That
that's
was
so well
horrifying.
done. It's horrifying, but it's so well done and like well shot. And then you're like, that completely explains why the ghost was saying no to younger Nell. And then it's like,
Absolutely.
how
Mm.
grim. She basically saw the ghost of herself the whole time.
She
Yeah.
just saw how she would die.
Yeah.
And it's kind of brings up a really interesting thing with the show as well, because now you've also introduced a time mechanic. It's like, okay,
Yeah. Like,
so is
oh,
this kind of like you can affect the past and it'll change the future, or is this like a self
fulfilling prophecy.
fulfilling prophecy? Yes, that's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Where it's predestination, it's already set out and you're just kind of going through the motions kind of thing. So it's like
Yeah.
questions, man, loads of questions being
Oh yeah.
asked at this point, and it's just like,
That
oh
was
my
rude.
god.
And
Yeah.
then obviously, like as you were saying about the time mechanic, you also have the idea of confetti, as Nell would say, like
Yeah.
throwing up a ball of confetti and
Mm.
little bits going everywhere,
Yeah.
spread throughout the time.
See, I was really worried because, like, when you're messing with time in a show, you
Oh,
better
yeah.
fucking nail it, dude, because if not, it can go so
Yeah.
wrong.
Understandably.
Oh, do you know what? It just came to me, but in episode 3, we briefly talked about it in episode 2, but the mother telling the kids how she felt, and then seeing Theo tell her what to say to the kids because she
Oh,
hates
yeah,
being
that
lied
one.
to. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, Theo, yes. One more
Yes,
reason why she's awesome.
I loved that because I was like, I agree. Like, you should not lie to kids about some stuff. Like, you shouldn't lie. Period to them. Maybe like omit some details. Like, you don't have to go into the ins and outs of why their aunt killed themselves, but to not even talk about it
Yeah.
would be worse.
And then I think it really highlights a bit of Shirley as well, because like she's so frightened that she's willing to just say everything that Theo told her, as opposed to trying to find her own way of saying the same thing. So it kind of shows a really weird dependence that she has on the siblings as well.
Oh yeah, it shows there's a massive codependence between Shirley and Theo, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. Also, yet another symptom of what you would call depression, suicide tendencies, drug addiction, codependency, big thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Codependency is definitely, I would say, a big massive trauma response as well. There's a thing
I
called
think we see
trauma
that.
bonding, isn't there? So I feel like there's a bit of that going on too.
yeah,
I think
absolutely,
that- I
especially
think we-
with Luke's episode, because that's what the lady who was running the clinic was like. Okay, you can't attach your recovery to someone else, because if they relapse, what's gonna happen to you, bro?
Yeah.
Very true, and I think that
It
we
is very
see
true.
that with all the characters to a certain extent. Like you said with Luke and his friend from the clinic, and then also Nell and her husband, and Nell and Luke, and
Yeah.
Theo and Shirley. Not sure if there was anyone with Stephen, but
I think Stephen is very much the denial part all the way throughout, because he does not want to be
Yeah.
part of the codependence. I suppose you could say his wife is, based on what we learn later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone does have their own version of codependence. I mean, even the dad has his own version of things. So
Yeah. But yeah, it's my favorite episode. But episode 5 is absolutely heartbreaking from like start to finish, because she's dead already. So you like basically waiting for like how is she gonna die, basically.
And you know what? So far, we've 5 episodes in, and we've seen 5 perspectives of basically the same 2 days, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
Very
god, this is incredible.
It's so good. I really like it when stories sort of, I don't know what it is. Character-based stories are just really interesting. I enjoy them a lot.
What would you say is better, plot-based stories or character-driven stories?
Depends
really
on
think
execution.
Also, I guess for me it depends on what the story is, because it depends on what the story is, whether it would suit being character driven or whether it suits being plot driven more.
Okay, so here's an example. I really like Dunkirk. Barely characters in it.
Very true.
So, conversely, because we're talking about it, I like Hill House, and that's all character. So both can
Yeah.
work. Execution is what counts.
Very true.
It's like I always say, there's no real, truly bad idea. It's just execution, man. Execution. Are there anything else you want to talk about with Nelly? I mean, we've gone all over the place with Nelly, but
Yeah. I mean, that kind of sums up the episode. She goes all over the place.
literally.
Like, the episode goes all over the place emotionally as well. It's like, it's happy, it's wholesome, and then it's like, oh shit.
And then just
it's
the steep
dread.
decline.
Yeah.
I think to go along with what you said earlier about how it's, as well as being one of the most depressing episodes of the season, with also conversely also being one of the more light-hearted episodes, I think that it was a nice, in a way, a nice breather
Yeah.
Yeah.
for certain scenes, because so much of the season up to this point was just you holding your breath, like
Yeah.
waiting
like-
to see what happens to this family, and then you get these nice moments with Nell, and then you just hit by a truck of emotion,
Yeah. It's
and
like,
then obviously the rest of the season.
oh god, we still have
Yeah.
5 episodes to go. But
Yeah.
like the sheer amount of tension in this show is just incredible.
Absolutely.
It's just like, I mean, this is why like there are some jump scares in this, but they're so well executed that they come
Yeah.
after like 10 minutes of suspense, and you're like, okay, you kind of earned that one. You go go for it, dude. But yeah, if we're done with Nelly, we come to which I think is one of the best live action episodes of all time.
Absolutely.
Part 6, episode 6, I mean.
Yeah.
My god, like,
Called Two Storms. Yeah.
yeah.
Two Storms.
Oh yeah, the storm one. I really enjoyed this.
What a fucking orgasm for the eyes, man. Jesus.
Beautifully shot.
Like,
Yeah.
there were like 4 cuts in the entire episode. Like,
Oh, I know.
I mean, when we did Chrysalis and stuff like that, it's like I think 4 minutes was the longest take. Like,
Yeah.
this, and that's with 2 people sitting on a fucking couch. Like, my stress levels watching this was like, oh my god, the amount of preparation and planning that had to go
Oh, I
into
know.
this.
I can't imagine how long they rehearsed.
Yeah.
this
Oh.
episode.
Whenever I see long takes now, I'm just like, oh my god, like, I must applaud you, because long takes to set up just, oh, they're stressful.
It's like,
Worth it, but stressful.
I know, it's like the time for blocking, the time for the lightning, the time for the camera, like everything. It's like,
Yeah.
I think I remember reading somewhere like they needed to have like 100 people on set at a time to get everything to work properly. And I'm just thinking, if I
Holy
was
heck.
there, it's like, okay, is it my time to fuck up now? Because my god, like, you'd
Yeah.
hate to be the one to mess up a take here.
You would. You'd be like majorly like, I need to be on the ball.
It's like stress. And do you know what's
Yeah.
so incredible about this episode? You had like 15, 16-minute long takes with 5 kid actors.
Oh, I know.
And I'm
Very
like, how? It's just, oh man, like these kids, I swear to God, are reincarnations or just freaking de-aged versions of actors. They have to be like,
Yeah.
they. It's not natural to be this good. Oh,
I would argue that this is the most well acted episode of this season.
Yeah.
I mean, the sheer amount of storylines coming together in this one episode, and the two storms coming together, and then plot from the past being revealed, like writing wise, production wise, acting wise, editing wise. It's just
Chef's kiss, everybody.
fucking perfection, dude. Like, oh my god.
Yep.
And what I loved about this episode was the fact that we haven't seen all of the characters intersect in this way before.
Oh,
Like,
no.
obviously, we've had scenes with them together, whether it be two of them or all of them together, but we've never seen them for this long together.
Yeah.
No,
See
definitely.
all the storylines
And with the dad as well.
very
Yeah.
true, played by Timothy Hutton.
Which,
mostly
what a
in this
surprise.
episode.
I love Timothy Houghton.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good, especially in an upcoming episode on top of this one as well.
Yeah.
But we've had 5 episodes so far, and we've seen this family grow and what happened to them at Hill House and later in life, and to see all of these storylines just come to an head and see all the perspectives. I just thought it was brilliant, magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, like, the sheer amount of payoffs to character that you get in this one episode is like, spend 5 hours just building character, developing plot lines, setting up plans, and then, like, that moment when Shirley's husband and Theo reveal that they've been taking money from Steven is like,
Oh, yeah.
my god, like, J.J. Abrams, you don't need 5 planets blowing up, you just need good characters, dude. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, the fact that they can make a conversation between 4 people talking about a checkbook and royalties to books explosive. My god, man, you've done something right.
Yeah.
Very
it was,
true.
It was very, very well done.
I loved the monologue that Timothy.
Which one?
Yeah.
The monologue about the Christmas presents.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
And then how that leads to Steven saying, okay, there's got to be something she mentioned in those letters. What is it? There's got to be some sort of clue. And it's like, there's not a wasted second. Everything leads to something. And even
Yeah.
when the dad's saying that, the blocking where you far end you're seeing Theo getting a drink and then leaning on the corner is just, oh my god, it's just episode 6, man. It's just perfection, man.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And the ending of it as well. Or is that,
Oh.
I'm trying to think, I might be getting the funeral and the storm mixed up.
The funeral happens
No.
in the next episode.
No, yeah, it is definitely a storm, because it's the one where Nell goes missing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like at the end
Yeah,
of the, and
yeah.
like they can't find her for a good chunk of the time, and like the bit where they do find her and she's like, I was here and you weren't listening to me, and then it just cuts to the ghost of her, like, and it sort of like suggests, oh my god, did she knock her own coffin over?
And you know what?
They're
What's-
like arguing over a dead body, aren't they?
Yeah, and what's really cool is that there are some shots in the oneer where Nelly is in the background with the bent neck, and it's like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
Yeah.
And it's really
there's
cool because,
ghosts throughout the show just hiding
Yeah.
in the background.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like,
they're so
I-
subtle.
I forgot to mention, but in episode 5, there's actually quite a big actor as one of the ghosts, just hiding in the background. Mike Flanagan, he was having an interview with Variety, and in episode 5, the bent neck lady, Nell is having a conversation with her mother, I think, and hiding in the background is Bruce Greenwood as one
Oh
of
my
the
God.
ghosts.
Oh wow. I think if you rewatch it, and
Oh
like
God, yeah.
very much like scour every scene. There's ghosts everywhere throughout
There's a
the
scene in
entire show.
episode. There's a scene in episode 9, the one that focuses on Olivia, and they're in the kitchen, and I was just watching the scene, and I
Oh
just
yeah.
noticed the ghost hiding in the cupboard.
Yeah.
That one was, I think, the most obvious one where the
I thought so
yeah,
too.
but it's like you see where the ghosts are all over the place, and it's like when you know where they are and you find out what these characters are doing, it just ramps up the tension even more. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
like in episode 3, when Theo was going down the stairs to the basement, there
Oh,
was a
yeah.
ghost under the stairs, and I was like,
Yeah, I thought I saw that, but I was just like, it was like a case of I blinked and I was like, I was just like sitting at my dining table, and then this is broad daylight, and I was like, okay, now I'm spooked.
yeah. But it's also
Absolutely.
like back to episode 6 though, like the fact that she's in the background just unassuming, and the fact that she
Yeah.
was like nowhere to be found for a good portion of the episode in the past as well.
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to the family's um um view of her as well, where it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
Nellie, she's fine, she's the youngest and no one really sees her. And in a
And she's
weird
just
way,
gone, yeah.
yeah, because she's in the background in the funeral house, like the camera is Nell, it's like we're seeing everything but no one's paying attention to
yeah.
us kind of thing. Like that's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's really good. And one thing I really liked is in that episode, Steven starts seeing his mum,
Mm.
and he
Yes.
like the way he reacts to it, like it just shows how much of a skeptic he is, because he just goes, "Oh my god, not today," and then just starts drinking. And I'm like, dude, okay, if you think this is your mental illness, your reaction is to go and get a brandy. That's gonna make it worse if it is like hallucinations. I was just like, flawed logic, dude.
I mean, alcohol will help, I guess.
Yeah. I'm seeing my dead mom. I'm going to drink.
Yes, as all good things should.
I just love how he's like, not right now, and it's like, how many ghosts has he actually been seeing now?
Oh,
Because
But it's
I'm
like-
that's a like at first I was like, that's a very bizarre reaction to seeing a ghost, but he was just like, nah, not right now.
but you know, Steven's reaction to his dad when he was talking to his quote unquote mom is like, the first time it's like, okay, well, that was kind of weird, but I haven't seen him in a while, so okay. Second time it's like, okay, it's kind of getting weird now. Third time, okay,
Yeah.
Dad, what are you doing? Why are you talking over the shoulder? You know?
Yeah, you would be a bit like, you're being weird. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Oh. And then seeing Theo just kind of break down because
Yeah.
she's still recovering from the after effects of touching Nell was just kind of like, oh my god, like, oh,
I love the conversation they're having about like, why does it say, like, why do people say, oh, it's just like they're sleeping? It's not like they're sleeping at all. It's like she's dead.
mm,
Yeah.
And I can agree with that, because when my granddad died, this is really weird for me, because like I think this just shows how many like dead bodies my dad and my auntie have been around, but they were just sat in the room just having a pleasant conversation, and I'm sat there staring at my granddad like, that's an actual dead body. I don't feel very comfortable. I'm gonna leave. And they were just sat there having like a regular conversation, just chilling in the corner of the room while my granddad's there like dead, and I'm just like, this is weird. I don't
mean,
like it.
humans are dime a dozen. There's plenty around the corner.
I mean, I knew it was gonna be weird, but like the whole, oh, they look like they're sleeping, I'm like, no, it doesn't look like they're sleeping at all. It's
Yeah.
weird.
But it's like also it kind of shows it develops Shirley as well in a really weird way. Because
Yeah.
like she's having a go at Theo because like, and look, Theo's drunk and Theo's like, look, don't tell me how to grieve, I'll do it in my own way. And that's kind of really cool as
love
well.
that. I love
Because
that line, because it's like, it's true, people grieve in completely different ways. Like, you can't tell a person how to grieve or how
Yeah.
long to take to grieve. It's just like, Just let them
Absolutely.
breathe.
But I think it speaks to the character of Shirley as well, because even when someone close to her has died, she's still trying to be controlling of her family, like
Yeah.
And
telling
try to
people
come
how
off
they
as the
should
one
breathe.
that's better off.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I agree with you. Like, I think this episode did make me go, I don't particularly like Shirley as a character either.
Same here.
But then-
I feel as though this was the tipping point.
But then
Yeah.
also, that being said, when she finds Theo and her husband in the closet, you're like, oh shit, there better be a good fucking reason for this.
Yeah. I was like, Theo,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
because like it came out of nowhere as well, because like
Yeah.
nothing of that sort has been set up in the past, and it's like, wait, hang on, what's going on here? Is this grief? Is this not? There better be a good explanation, because right now I'm on Shirley's
Yeah.
side.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Like, for that one, I was like, yeah, she, by all means,
What is happening?
kick off.
Yeah.
Because, like, in general, you'd be like, why were you in the closet with my husband?
Yeah. But you know
Highly sus.
what's really interesting in this episode? The dad and Luke, who are quite possibly the most unhinged, were probably the most calm in this
Yeah.
epised.
Very
I
true.
did
And it's
love
like-
that. They were just kind of...
They're just taking everything
Yeah.
in, just
I
chill.
loved the performances. Both the dad and Luke and Stephen. I loved their performances when they see Nell.
Yeah.
Like even Stephen, it
Yeah.
was heartbreaking.
It's hard to react to a person you love that's, like, dead. It's like, what do you do? You
Yeah,
don't
and
know
it's
what to
like
do.
Stephen being the skeptic and the one he probably broke down the hardest next to Theo,
Yeah.
and
I
that
feel
was
like that's down to him being the oldest sibling and him sort of having feelings of I couldn't keep her safe kind of thing.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
failed, and I also feel as though we see that he was kind of the closest, like the person that he was closest to out of his siblings was Nell.
Yeah.
or the twins in general, because in the same episode, in the flashback to the other storm, it's like when he was talking to Luke, and Luke was like, oh, how are you gonna make sure I'm safe? And then Steve's like, because I'm the older brother, it's my job, I'll keep you safe, bro.
Very
Yeah.
true,
And
because
you're just like, oh.
I feel as though they all have connectivity in a way, but I feel as though he was
5 bars to the
definitely-
Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, exactly. For the 5 children, but I definitely feel as though he was much closer with the twins than he was the Shirley and Theo.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he even went out of his way to play in the treehouse with a quote-unquote treehouse with Luke every so often as
Yeah.
well. So
Fun fact: he's the only person who shared the red room with someone.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
I mean, I was gonna wait till later, but I was just gonna say I thought that was a bit weird. Like, a lot of the time, the rest of the time people were in the red room, it was very much them on their own. So it was like, what are the rules for this room? Like, can other people come in, or what? Like, I wasn't, because like, the forget. I'll just talk about it now. There's a bit where Theo's in the red room, and someone that like they're trying to
Oh,
break
the
into
dancing
the red.
thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
they're trying to
true.
break into the red room, and it won't let them in. So I'm like, wait, why did it stop them going in that time? But then Luke's happily like able to let Steven in. Like, I was like, what are the rules?
I suppose it has to do with the fact that I think even the dad brought it up, where he was like, "Oh, look, if he was always able to see it, but never able to comprehend it, and maybe that would allow him to go in without realizing it was something else."
Yeah.
I do find it kind of odd, the fact that one of the rooms that was inhabited by the Red Room was the treehouse, because all the rest of the rooms could have easily been in the house, but
Yeah.
the,
The fact
the
that there was
treehouse
a
would have had to have
treehouse
been
in
outside.
itself. Yeah.
It
It's
would have
like,
had to have been outside. So were they in some sort of a trance when they went into the
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think
treehouse
of.
Red Room?
Because
I
like
feel
we
like,
only see it the one time as well, don't we, in the first
yeah,
episode?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
suppose it's
definitely.
because they didn't know where to attribute Luke to, because usually he is outside playing with the girl in the woods. So it's like, okay, we need to have
yeah,
a room for Luke. So maybe that's why, but yeah, I'm even then when it was there, I was like, really, the treehouse?
yeah.
Okay.
Seems really
The
odd.
treehouse being a room is very strange. But then
Like vision
the
wise, I can get the mechanics, but
yeah,
practically it just doesn't make sense.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly, because you would have to walk outside to be able to get to the treehouse.
yeah.
Mm,
So unless they were under some sort of a trance when they went into
but then
I mean,
again, they
I
the
feel
did.
like
Red
that's
Room.
the only explanation because like it's revealed like the house is doing what it can to keep them happy, so they don't notice. So maybe the house just made it seem like they were going outside when in really they're just going into the
I
red room,
mean,
but
it did.
I
to
think that
them it's
must be the
outside.
case. I think
It,
that must be the case because they're all under the assumption that the Red Room can't open.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and
like
they did explain quite vaguely that the room is able to wear different clothing for every person.
yeah.
So
So
from
I
that
think it was
perspective, I suppose it could have just been like the attic or something even, and it could have
it
just
looked
dressed
like
it
they
up
were
as a
as a
treehouse
tree.
instead.
Yeah. It's interesting though that it
Yeah, the
makes you
treehouse
really go,
is
how?
yeah, the
How
treehouse
though?
is the only sus moment over there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the outlier,
Yeah.
which I
Otherwise,
suppose is
technically,
fitting because Luke was really the outlier of the family.
yeah,
Ah, true, true.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get onto it more when we get to the episode because we still got to talk about the funeral episode.
Oh god, yeah, it's like
Episode 7.
oh,
I like
is
this one too.
episode 7.
Eulogy.
Oh my god. Right, before we go on, I will take a quick minute to go to Zillow and I shall return
Okay.
momentarily. Don't be naughty.
Okay.
Okay. Whew, just a little bit of a breather before we
Yeah.
start talking about this episode.
Sure. Yeah.
Whew.
Whew. It's making me want to rewatch them because
I
there's
don't
parts
blame
where
you.
I'm forgetting, and I'm like, I want to spot all the ghosts. I love stuff that has like details in it where you can go back and find them.
Same here. I feel as though this is really a show that will very much benefit from a rewatch because there
Yeah.
are all the hints throughout the show, leading up to stuff like the bent neck lady and the red room. That I think that would be so interesting to watch it. Not only just to see the ghosts, but the hints as well.
Yeah. I was a bit frustrated because I accidentally got the spoilers that Nell was the bent neck lady, but then when I found out she died in episode 2, I was like, okay, maybe not really that much of a spoiler because my brain didn't remember that she was the bent neck lady. My brain just remembered that she died.
Yeah,
And then because it was like revealed in episode 2, I was like, okay, it's not too bad of a spoiler then. And
it's
then when I
fun. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Then when I found out she was the bent neck lady, my brain remembered seeing the spoiler for that, and I was like, damn it.
Sometimes I'm like that with some pieces of media. Like I'll see a spoiler just randomly. I'm not looking for it, but just randomly, and
Yeah.
then I'll start watching the show or the movie a couple of weeks or months later, and then I'll be like, "Oh, I remember this now."
Yeah. It was kind of like that. I mean, it still shocked me because I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
Oh. But at the same time, I was like, why do I feel like I knew this was gonna happen.
I
And
get
then,
you.
yeah, and then I remembered it's because of a video I was watching, because I was going through a period of watching, like, lists of horror shows and stuff like that, and it came up with Haunting of Hill House, and obviously it came out in 2018, so it's like it's been 2 years,
Yeah.
and I was like, oops, I just got a spoilie.
I think for me it was a bit of a technical spoiler, because I'd heard that the direction was superb for the show, but I feel as though I watched like a little documentary that they'd released on YouTube when the show first came out, and I discovered that episode 6 was composed of really long takes. So I had it in the back of my mind that there was something like that in the show, but it wasn't until I got to episode 6 where I was like, "Oh, we haven't stopped. Oh, the camera's still going."
I had the
Yeah.
same reaction.
It
Oh,
was just superb.
it's like when you realize it's like, we haven't cut yet. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then you're still going. 10 minutes later, you're still going.
So
Oh, it
good.
was great. Should we move on to episode 7?
If
Yeah.
we must. Episode 7. The funeral episode, yes?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh my. So, well, Eulogy by Luke was so freaking heartwarming.
I know.
I'll just say it now.
Definitely.
It's
Like the fact
"Aw."
that he goes on to say that she was the only one who believed in him the entire time. And it's like, oh, Luke.
My heart. Yeah.
I think Luke, along with Theo, are my favorite characters.
Me too.
Yeah. I think I have to agree.
It depends on the day, but they flip flop back and forth. Some days
Yeah.
it's Luke, some days it's Theo. I love them both so much.
Same
Such
here.
good characters. As soon as Theo came into it, though, I think I remember messaging to you guys, I love Theo.
Yeah.
Did, yeah.
It's
I
like,
felt so bad because I kept messaging you like throughout when I was watching it, but I'm like, I need someone to process this with, and I'm like, Ryan's not really bothered about horror, so he'll just like nod and be like, cool, and just let me like vent it. But like when I'm messaging you guys are like, oh my god, yes, I know, and I'm like, yay.
yeah. Oh god, absolutely. And I think it's all the better because it is good. That really
Very
helps.
true.
Because if you said, "Oh my god," like Kylos and Incel, will be like, "Yeah, we know," and just swiftly move on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I loved how that's an introduction to our podcast. Like that was the first thing that was said on this podcast. Kylo Ren is an
literal-
incel.
the literal start of our podcast sessions.
Yep.
Episode 1 is just I couldn't believe Kylos and Incel. Just oh
You are welcome.
oh yeah. We haven't had a start as good, but I don't think we need one.
No.
God, imagine if we have like an opening for the show and it's just like Kylos and Incel on with the show.
Yeah. Or just like a hot topic take. And then just carry on with the show. We should do that.
Oh God, I'd have so many hot takes. It's like someone thinks something's good, I probably think it's bad.
Yeah. Hot take
Oh.
today. This film sucks.
Okay, if you want a hot take, Mandalorian season 2. I thought episode 1 was so boring.
Oh, really?
Like legitimately,
Fair enough.
I was like, what a waste of time. Just barely anything happened, dude. You could have cut that episode and nothing would change.
Fair enough.
But then
I
again,
don't want to get into it because Amy hasn't watched it. And also,
yeah, like
Hill.
maybe once
Fair
it's
enough.
all done, once it's all
Yeah.
done after the final episode, we'll have a What We Watch podcast on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, sounds
Why
good
not?
to me.
Gives me
Yeah.
it'll make me watch it because apparently whenever we say we're going to talk about something, I immediately then go and watch it.
Yeah, I watch it weekly with my parents because that's how we started season 1. So I'm
Fair.
watching it with them every week. So yeah,
Very nice.
Nice.
it's like even now, my dad's like, "Why are the artwork at the end the best part about the show still?"
I do love seeing that.
They are so cool
My
though.
my mum and dad won't get Netflix, and I'm really annoyed because I'm like, there are so many things on Netflix that you would enjoy. Please
mean-
just go and get Netflix.
Can't you share your account?
I mean, I could, but they just won't. Like they won't even install it.
Oh.
Is the thing. They're just very much technophobes and just like, no, I will refuse. And I'm like, but you. Like, I've told my mum to watch Haunting on Hill House because she's a horror fanatic, and she's like, I keep meaning to watch it, and I'm like, you should. This is why you should get Netflix.
Or, do a Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Pirate.
I think that's what they're planning on doing.
Okay, fair
Probably.
enough.
But I'm not gonna go into that because I don't want to get my mum and dad in trouble.
I mean, just call them mom and dad. They'll never know which mom and
Yeah.
dad.
Mum and dad, they could be anybody.
The nebulous mom and dad. Could be Adam and Eve for all we know.
They could be. They could be anybody.
Yeah. So yeah, fucking funeral episode, innit?
I believe this is the one that
Yes.
focused on Hugh.
Oh
It-
yeah.
Was it?
I mean-
think so. It was either 7 or 8 that focused on Hugh.
I don't remember.
Was
I mean, he
it-
becomes pretty integral to the rest of the show at this point, so he pops up a lot.
Yeah, I think this was the one.
This
that
was the
focused
one,
on
yeah.
Hugh.
And then 9 was the one with Olivia.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like
this is
Nine.
the one with Hugh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought this
but
was a really good episode.
Oh
this is the one
yeah.
where he's trying to sort the damp out, and I feel you because honestly, I've got mold in my bedroom right now that will not go away, and I'm like, is my house actually haunted? Is that what's happening?
It's another Hill House.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the same one with my bathroom at the moment, and just getting ventilation going is a fucking issue, so constantly have to
Yeah.
fix the fucking fan in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, aside from that, it's not that bad anymore, so hey, I'll take it.
But it's just frustrating because like my heating's broken at the moment, so trying to ventilate, it's already cold enough. So like you open the window, it's just more cold, and it's like it won't go away.
Oh my god.
Ah.
What if your bedroom and my bathroom are the red rooms of our respective houses? Or apartment, maybe house, I don't know.
It makes sense.
So yeah, we get. Is this the one where he cuts the hand?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
I know
Yeah.
it's definitely. I definitely know it's the one where he has the conversation with Mr. Dudley.
I was literally about to say, my god, that monologue by Dudley was incredible.
It was so
Yeah.
eerie. Yeah.
It's like it tells a story, it gives reasoning, it gives context, and the Dudleys have more to do because they feel like they've been in the periphery up until this point.
Yep.
Oh my god, what a monologue. And plus, it
It's
really
very-
gives credence to the idea that it really is the house rather than particular spirits or anything like that.
Yeah. It's just a way better version of Murder House than American Horror Story could ever do.
I only saw Asylum, so.
Okay. Right, well, the first season is basically it's this house, and people die, and they're basically trapped in the house forever.
Okay.
But Haunting of Hill House is it's so much better, and I don't care if people are like, "How dare you hate on American Horror Story?" That season
God, what's it on?
wasn't that great.
What's it on, like season 8 or something now?
I think so, yeah. I got up to the end of Asylum and then stopped watching it, and I really need to go back to it because I want to watch the Coven one. But
Hmm.
The funny thing is, both shows, The Haunting and American Horror Story, are both anthologies that utilize the same cast.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
that's literally what kept popping into my head when I was watching Bly Manor. I was like, this is like American Horror Story, but better.
Yeah,
Because I
true.
remember watching American Horror Story, and not once has American Horror Story really scared me.
It's got a lot
It's
of
more
gore factor and
just-
shock value.
Yeah, it's like shock value more than anything. But I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay,
Because I
Whereas
remember some of
The
the.
Haunting.
go on.
I was just gonna say, The Haunting really digs deep and makes you care about the characters, and the scares come from the situations that the characters are in.
Yeah. American Horror Story, I was just like, oh, just die already. With
Yeah.
half the characters.
It's very much on, at least Asylum was for me, very much the body horror aspect of it, more than
Yeah.
anything else. Like seeing all these deformed people and the experimentation going on, I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, dude, but get over yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a miss for me. But it has a niche audience. Maybe I'm just not part of it.
Yeah.
I can't begin to comment on it because I haven't seen American Horror Story, but I know from whenever I've seen any trailers, and trailers aren't great to go off because you never know what you're getting, but I've never really been particularly interested in trying, whereas with Hill House, I was drawn to it. It took me 2 years to watch it.
Yeah, same here.
Does that mean we've literally all only watched it this year then?
Yeah.
Poor.
Because, like, it was always something that was on the radar, but,
Yeah.
like, for one reason or another, I just never watched it. And because Bly was coming out, I was like, let's watch it.
I was exactly the same way. I think Dylan watched the first episode before I did.
I can't remember. It's one of the two, or maybe it was very close to each other. I remember that much.
Yeah, I think you watched the first episode before I did, but then
You just kind of
zoomed
steamrolled
right
through. Yeah, because I was taking it one episode a day, and it's like before I knew it, both of you were finished with everything, and I was like, oh, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah. Like with Bly Manor, I was gonna like go a bit slower with it, but then I was like, no, do you know what? I wanna know what happens.
It's funny. I was kind of the same way. Like, I watched the first 8 episodes of Hill House, like one episode a night. And then I got to the final 2 and I was like, I just want to know how it ends. So I watched the last 2, and then for some reason with Bly Manor, I was just like, right, I've just got to get right through it.
To be fair, like, I finished the last 2 episodes of Hill House on the same night as well, so... Yeah.
I finished Hill House, and then I think it was the last episode, and then went on to watch Bly Manor, the rest of it in an entire day.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
By the end of the day, I was like, where did my time go?
I think I watched Bly Manor over 3 days.
Same here, 3 days. Yeah, 2, 4, 3, I think that was my... Yeah. Yeah, 2, 4, 3, that was my count over days.
Cool.
I'm not sure what mine was.
I think over 3 days I watched both seasons.
Well, you beat us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It took us like
Can
2
you tell
weeks.
I liked it? It took me way longer just to watch one season of American Horror Story because I just couldn't get into it. But I was like, I want to finish this season because I want to know what happens.
So back to episode 7. This,
Big tangent.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this was the one where it was revealed that the mother was, well, a version of the mother was in Daddy's vision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I really like it because, like, you get to see him wanting to say things, and then the mother says it. Like, the ideal version of the mother is telling him the ideal version of what he has to say, but then he kind of fucks up anyway. It just kind of shows how broken of a man he is at this point.
Yeah, like she
Very
recites a whole thing to say to them, and he just doesn't say anything. Just keeps his mouth shut.
And when he should keep his mouth shut, like with Shirley in the car, he just keeps on going.
Yeah, like with Shirley, she's like, "Don't say anything, don't do it. You go and open a can of worms," and he's just like, "So how's things with you?" And I'm just like, dude. Of all the siblings to now be like, how's your life? Like, seriously? just stop. I was like, she's just gonna stop the car and yell at you and then carry on driving.
Yeah. And then when the mother says, stick your hand, and he goes, in the fan, cut to him hitting the fan. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. That bit was horrifying. As I was just like, oh, did he just... Oh. And then he's like basically blaming Steven for not turning the fan off.
I mean, to be fair, it was Steven's job, so... and he said he did it. But, and then that's one of the instances. Was it the house? Was it Steven? Was the mistake? Ooh, spookytisms.
Yeah, you're like...
Very true. It could have been one of the ghosts.
And you know what's even more terrifying about that is because you know when you're a kid, you have tried to do that. Just stick your hand in the fan to see what would happen.
Just been like,
yeah.
Oh, kids are dumb, aren't they?
We are.
I can't remember.
I'm not a kid anymore. What the hell?
I can't remember. Is this episode the one that had the framing device at the police station? I assume it is.
I think so.
If it's not this one, it's the next one. No, it's this one.
Either
it's this
way.
one.
No, yeah, this is the one.
Because this is the dad's episode, so it's this one.
Yeah. Either way, I loved the discussion between the dad and the police officer.
Like, I mean, it sounds like the police officer is like being nice, but at the end of the day, he's just trying his best not to get the dad to call his lawyer. And it's so friggin' obvious. And I'm like,
I'm like,
it's
oh
so
my
cool.
god, police! They just do anything they can to make you not call a lawyer. I don't.
And it's like, and then also he hears this like, oh, the other body in the house, and you're like, wait, what body is in the house? And then later on in the episode,
slowly unraveled.
Oh my god!
He's like, wait, there were more bodies in the house. What did you do?
Yeah, and it's like, was this a body very recently? Was it an older one? He knows, so it's like, what's going on here?
And then we got in episode 9.
Yeah. I like the bit where he's like, I can fix this, and then you get to the police officers, and then obviously the police officer's like, I'm giving you an opportunity to fix this.
You like fixing this, and then the dad's like, I don't know anymore. I used to think so. It's like, oh my god. Because like all the way through the show up until this point, whenever problems come up, he's always been like, I can fix this, you know? And this is the first time he's gone like, I don't think I can fix this.
Yeah.
I just realised, sorry, it wasn't episode 9. It wasn't the body of a little girl. It was actually the body behind the wall.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
They were talking about. I made a mistake.
It's the body of William Hill, so it was the
better?
Bullahack. What?
The betting company?
No, I think the Bullahack ghost is meant to be the ghost of William Hill.
That's what I assume as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that it was the Dudley's daughter, for some reason, but then I remembered that they hid her away, so and buried her, so it wasn't her. Yeah, it was William Hill.
Oh, betting shops never go away, do they?
Can't get rid of them.
Yeah. And it's also really cool that we get to see Nellie's wedding from the dad's perspective here, and you can see him and the mother just going, "Oh, look at this moment. Everyone's here. Everyone's having fun." Oh, speaking about the wedding, actually, something that I forgot to mention for episode 2, Shirley, the little bitch, turning Luke away.
Oh, I know. I was so mad at her for that.
I was like, oh, Luke. He had the puppy dog eyes and everything, and I was just like, oh.
I was like, no, because Nell would have wanted him there, you bitch. How dare you? Like, she was just completely controlling everybody, and I was just like, ugh.
Literally, the next scene when Shirley was like, oh, it'll be the perfect day, and Nellie just goes, almost perfect. It's like, you knew exactly she meant Luke. Oh.
Yeah.
But it's really great seeing the wedding from all these different perspectives, and we kind of get the last version of the wedding from the parents' eyes, or at least one of them. Do you know what? Shockingly, this is the episode I remember the least about.
Same.
Episode 7, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember it, and I'm just like, my brain's not.
It's very much a very slow episode with the dad just doing his thing, trying to reconnect with his family, and
Yeah.
I think one of the standout moments in that, which I still remember, is when it's time to go and the mother's like, okay, do you know what? Say your goodbyes, be happy, and then you don't have to see them again for a few years. And then the
Yeah.
dad just doesn't say anything and just looks at each of his kids one at a time. And then
Yeah.
the mother just goes, you don't want to, do you? It's like, you want to stay in their lives. And it's just like, yeah.
It's a really nice moment.
It's like
Yeah, it is.
barely anything was said, and it's just so much emotion through just 2 lines of dialogue, man. Just
He's so good in that moment.
He really.
I just remembered something in episode 7, actually.
Ooh.
At the funeral, when
Yeah.
Luke is attacked by the ghost of Olivia,
Oh.
and the way that Stephen reacts
Yeah.
to Luke, it's one of the moments where Stephen just really got under my skin.
I completely get why he would get under your skin, because he was being quite visceral in his evisceration of him. But at the same time, I feel like the way he was so passionate about it, the way he was so desperate, it was almost like he was trying to convince himself as much as Luke, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Very true, but he didn't see the ghost.
This is true.
Yeah.
Whereas Luke did, so Stephen was probably thinking, "Oh, he's having a hallucination or something." Whereas Luke, we all know how Luke is at this point,
Yeah.
and how troubled he is, and you just feel bad for him because no one believes him.
Yeah.
And then to actually bring up something from Luke's episode, I think it was just after he got the bowler hat for the first time, and
Yeah.
Hugh just goes, big boys knows the difference between what's real and what's not. And in this episode,
Yeah.
Luke goes,
Big boys
big
know
boys.
the difference. He basically recites it to him.
Exactly. And it's like 4 episodes later, we get a payoff for that. And it's just, or like 3 episodes later, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just writing, just porn for the mind, man.
Yeah. I loved that bit because I was like, I would have totally said the same thing. I'd have been like, you basically gaslighted me, you asshole.
And it was just after the dad opened up about ghosts and seeing things and coping, and then Luke just goes, yeah, well, big boys know the difference between imagination and what's real. And the look on the dad's face after hearing that and seeing, you just, having already seen that part like 3 episodes ago, you know exactly the moment he's thinking about in that moment. And it's just so...
Yeah.
Oh.
It's so good. And it's like, that is what happens. Like, you could be the best parent in the world. You will say something to your kid, and it'll stick with your kid, and they will pull it out the time when you're, like, trying to, like, talk to them about something. They will be like, well, you said this to me, so there. I'm pretty sure I've done it to my parents.
Oh my.
It's just a thing you do.
I believe that's also the scene that leads into Luke going off to Hill House.
Yeah.
Like, disappearing from the family.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, he says that and then he disappears, and then the dad's like trying to decide whether or not he's like, should I tell them that he took Shirley's purse? And I'm just like, dude, just fucking say something. Because otherwise they're sitting there drawing their own conclusions and wasting time.
Yeah.
And he's just like, wait, but and I'm like, just freaking shout at them, they're your kids.
Yeah, and then like after everyone's just kind of going off on their own fucking just crazytisms, it's like her I was gonna say her for Hugh, but Hugh and Theo following the trail of soot or like mold all the way to the office and then seeing the forever.
I thought it was like mud from the graveyard.
Me too, but then it's like it wasn't Nelly.
True.
And
True.
plus it was like pitch black, so
Yeah.
that's why. But and then seeing the Forever House just kind of demolished on the floor, and the reaction Theo has to it, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, to end an episode on that, just yes please.
Not
Yeah.
only the look on Theo's face, but also the look on Hugh's face as well.
Yeah, because more than, in a weird way, I felt as if in that moment he was more concerned for her safety than his own, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
because he literally
I feel
got her
that
and
way
dragged.
too.
Yeah, he got her and dragged her behind him. So he
Yeah.
was like, "You can take me. Leave my kid alone, though."
Good dad. That's what I'll say.
That is good. That is good dad behavior.
I mean, considering we said we barely remember episode 7, we talked quite a bit about episode 7.
Yeah, we did a good. We did a good remembering.
Picked it up as we went along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Is it episode? Is it episode 7 or 8 where Theo and Shirley have a fight and one
That's
of them
8.
punches and they
That's it. I
punches her in
remember.
the boob?
Yeah.
She's like, "Did you just punch me in the boob?"
Do you know
She's
what?
like, "Yeah."
Not gonna lie, that's the 3rd time I've heard a "did you punch me in the boob" joke this year.
Really?
In a film, well, okay, not really punch in the boob, but in Babysitter's, Bella Thorne gets shot in the boob. And I'm like,
True.
I mean, Bella Thorne kind of deserved
Shot
it, but you know.
Fair.
Not a fan of Bella Thorne, but yeah. That's the 3rd time people have been abused in the boob.
In the boob. Ugh.
But
Someone threw an apple at my boob once. It hurt.
I did. I mean,
Just fun fact there.
okay, I'll just leave it as a fun fact. I don't think I want to know the context behind that.
An apple at me to catch, and it just hit me in the boob instead. It wasn't deliberate. It wasn't like, I'm going
Oh.
to aim at your boob. It was just like,
Targeting
I missed,
systems
and it-
on.
yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if someone dropped into the stream now and it's like, oh, someone threw an apple at my boob. It's like, what? I thought it was Hill House.
I just wasn't expecting it, which is why I started laughing, because I was like, did she just... She did. She just punched her in the boob.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else on episode 7, shall we go to the 8, where they are trying to find the Luke?
I think that's a good way to put it, yeah.
Well, I mean, talking about the boob punching scene, I just kind of segued into it.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
true.
it's a very natural progression of events, really.
Yeah.
I
So,
thought this was a very conversation-based episode.
Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You've got Stephen and the dad, and then you've got Theo and Shirley having conversations throughout.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, like, whenever Shirley was agitated, that's when the doorbell started to ring. And then when her
Yeah.
and Theo was getting really eager to fight, that's when the banging starts. It's almost like, you know, they're getting
was a
agitated when the
callback.
sisters.
That
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
a callback to earlier in the series.
when the
where
two
Yeah.
they were
in
young
the
girls.
bedroom.
Yeah. And it's like they were fighting, and it's like, don't fight, your sisters, get along. Like bang.
Yeah. Like, stop shouting at each other.
Yeah, and then this episode it was the first time a jump scare got me in like literal years.
Was this in the car?
It's
Oh,
almost like you knew.
It's because I
the-
jumped
the
as
bit where
well.
Nell- yeah, that made me jump as well. Just a bit. She's like, "Shut up!" I
It was like-
"Whoa."
Because it's such a well-placed jump scare, because at that point,
Yeah.
after 8 episodes, when characters are talking, when they're doing their monologuisms, it's always just like,
Yeah.
oh, we're just gonna enjoy this monologue. And then there's going and going and going, and you're just absorbed in what they're
ghost.
saying. And then Nelly says, nah, chill. And it's like, it's the first time, literally, a jump scare got me to say, fuck me. And then I was
Yeah.
just like, readjust and then continue watching.
I think I shut my laptop briefly.
Oh,
I shut my laptop and went, "Oh my god," and then like opened it again.
and then realized the screen was broken.
Oh no, I didn't shut it that hard. I
Oh,
just like
okay.
kind of. I didn't like slam it. I just shut it over, and then.
It was one of those where I'd been scared and unsettled throughout the series, but that was the first time that I jumped.
I think it's because
That was a good jump scare,
Yeah.
I think. Because in the middle of a conversation, I feel like
'Cause,
they're
like-
the best jump scares.
Because, like, on the one hand, it's perfectly set up because whenever these two start fighting in this episode, things turn to shit. Yet at the same
Yeah.
time, after 8 episodes, we've been conditioned to just really pay attention to what characters are saying
Mhm.
because that's usually when things are calmest. So they kind of
Yeah.
took both of them and used them both to make a really efficient jump scare. And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
good writing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It kind of reminds me of like there's a scene in Insidious where they're talking and the like spook is literally it's not even a jump scare.
Oh, yeah, it's behind Patrick Wilson, yeah.
Hi.
I remember
Hello,
that.
I'm here too. And I thought that was really well done because up until that point I was like, well, it's daytime, they're talking, it's not going to be a jump scare. And then it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done.
I'm not gonna lie, Theo's monologue after that quote unquote crash is probably my favorite monologue in the entire thing.
The
I
one where she's
completely
talking
agree
about
with you.
throwing the stone.
No, it's the one where she's
Um,
like literally breaking down in front of
Oh,
Pouring the heart.
Yeah, it's like
and she's
explaining
basically
this is
saying,
why.
yeah,
And I'm like,
this is what happened. Yeah.
and then after hearing all of
feeling
that,
about the emptiness.
Yeah, that was just grim. I was like, oh,
and
it
it's
got
like,
me in the feels because I was like, it's like she's literally describing depression, and it's like, oh, ow.
it's like the entire time, it's like that was the most emotional we've ever seen Theo as well. Just literally wearing
Very
her
true.
heart on her sleeve. And it's like, Katie Siegel, what a fucking performance that scene was. Like, my god.
Absolutely.
It was so good.
Like, that's probably my favorite monologue in the entire series. And there's a lot
This
to
is
pick
good.
from.
Very
Yeah.
true. They love the monologues in this show.
And you know
They
what?
do.
They don't even have to build any of them up. They can just go right into it because they're that confident they can pull it off. And they do.
Very
Oh.
good.
And then, do you know something that was really cool about Steven and the dad? Whenever they were conversing, the person who was taking the lead in the conversation was always in the driver's seat. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That's a. I'd never
very good
noticed
point.
that, but that's a very, very good decision on their part.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like in the first
Alright, I'm
time...
gonna get into why I don't. One thing I don't really like about Steven is the fact that he's like, I got a vasectomy and didn't tell my wife, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
fuck you.
I think even
Not
he...
cool.
I think even he admits, yeah, that wasn't my finest moment. But it's like when he explains it, you can kind
Hello?
of...
Hello?
Oh, shit.
Amy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if Dylan's still talking though.
I can't hear Dylan either.
No.
I can
Yeah,
hear
you
you.
Went a
Hello,
bit there.
Dylan.
Hi again.
Oh, hi! I
Ping.
Pink.
Right.
You're breaking up a
so,
little bit.
Am I?
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, now we can hear.
Like properly?
Hi.
Okay, it shows a good bit rate as well, so that's good.
Ah, he's
Oh
gone.
no.
Okay.
You keep going and coming back, and it's weird. And it's only when you try and talk about Hill House it's very spooky.
Oh no. Well, it says I'm connected.
It's Hill House himself.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, Hill House is stopping him talk. Yeah, we can hear
Yep.
you.
Okay, good. Yeah, everything says I'm back to good levels again, so Fuck, what was I gonna say?
That's good.
Who was talking?
You're talking about.
It was to do with the vasectomy.
Yeah, the
Oh, right,
vasectomy.
yeah.
He did.
Yeah, I was just saying that when he explains it the way he does, like his mindset behind all of it, his absolute commitment to the idea that it was in fact mental illness, and the fact that he doesn't want it to spread to his children if he can help it, I can understand the mindset.
Yeah.
But you could feel the guilt radiating out of him when he has to say, yeah, and when we were trying, I just didn't have the heart to say to her that I had it, so I just kept on delaying it. And quite frankly, I don't know what I would do in that situation either. So
I get it, but it pissed me off because it's like you had it done when you were a teenager. You had it done. You had plenty of time. You could have said before you got married. You could have said when you were like in your early stages of dating. You could have told her this, but you didn't, and you it's such like for women. I think when you want to have a kid and it's not happening, there is a very high possibility for you to blame yourself and then go, something's wrong with me. So he just sat there and let his wife go through that and think it might be my fault. And I think that's just not okay. Like, that pissed me off about him because it's like, you're not taking your partner into consideration at all. You're more concerned about how you're gonna, like, end up feeling guilty about it. As like, just, you should have just told her. It just seems like such a dumb thing to do.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
completely agree with you.
I think that's also a part of his journey as well, just learning to be open with other people as well, because even when he's talking to his family, he is very much a closed off person. Even if he does want to help others, like with Luke and the Bills and stuff like that early on. So it is very much a trust issue that he has going on. And part of his journey is like, okay, I gotta be open, I gotta talk to people, and I gotta tell the truth sometimes, even if it fucking sucks. So yeah, not his finest moment, I will give him that, but like I get his mentality, and that's what I think is really cool. Even if I didn't like him in that moment, it's like the logic makes sense for the character.
Oh yeah, it's completely in line with everything that's been set up about his character so far.
Yeah,
the logic made sense. It just made me really hate him in that moment. Like I like, people don't tell people things for a reason because it's a scary thing to have to talk about. It just, for me, like, I got angry on behalf of his wife because it's a shitty thing to do to a person, to just let them go on thinking it's their fault.
Yeah, absolutely. Still though, I do like the fact that the two times that Luke was in the driving seat, he was talking to his dad, and it's like, okay, so this is the thing with the family, this is going on both times. And then when it's the dad's turn, it's like, okay, look, I've listened to you, okay, we gotta be real now, shit's fucking haunted. And it's like, oh
and,
like...
and he's pointing out the fact that there was no treehouse.
Oh, I love that.
And that
the clockmaker.
There was no clockmaker.
He's like, when would I have had time to build you a treehouse? Seriously, like we were there for a couple of weeks to flip a house. Why would I have built you a treehouse?
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
it's such a logical question, but even you're like, do you know what? That makes sense. Why would he build them a tree house?
Yeah, like, that's such a good point.
Yeah. I love how he goes through it, like, systematically, and basically, as much as Stephen tries to deny it, he's like, no, literally, that makes no sense because of this. And I'm like, he's logicking against you. You cannot say it's not real.
Logic
Using
be
his
logic.
own weapon against them.
You've been logicked, skeptic.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. I was like, because you can see his face is like, as he's slowly like realizing, he's like, oh, holy crap.
And that really was like Hugh fixing things.
Yeah, he's like, look, this is what happened, and also look, your mum wasn't crazy, she was being haunted, and that's why she punched the mirror.
Making up for his mistakes in the past.
Yeah.
And bringing things full circle.
And I quite love the fact that it was the fact that him finding out that it was Luke going to Hill House that prompted him to just go, right, Steven, I can't waste any more time. Here's the truth. We gotta save Luke.
I've lost my wife. I've lost my daughter.
I'm not
I
losing.
can't
Luke,
afford to lose
basically,
anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was such a good bit. I really liked it.
Absolutely, and I loved the final scene with Luke at Hill House.
Oh God,
yeah.
yeah. It's like
Oh,
I was getting ready for the bonfire night. I think I watched this on bonfire night as well, I think. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, why are there fireworks all over the place? You know, it's like, oh, right. Oh no,
yeah.
I was watching Bly Manor. I don't know, there were fireworks on this one as well. It was weird.
Yeah.
Liverpool's weird, man. Fireworks every day. But
Very true.
There's been fireworks literally every night, and like on bonfire night, I was so angry at every firework that went off because my poor cat was terrified. I was like, I want to kill whoever's doing that to my poor cat.
Same with my dog.
Oh,
same with one of our dogs. Although they both of them live with my parents, so yeah.
Such Doctor Sleep parallels from Luke going back to Hill House.
Oh, like Ewan McGregor going back to the Overlook.
Yeah,
oh,
going back to like burn it down in a way. I got such Doctor Sleep vibes, which is ironic because Mike Flanagan went on to direct Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
I do love how he tries to set fire to the house, and it's literally just like, nope.
Nah, I'm good, bro. It's like, oh,
No, thank you.
And then
Thank
his
you for
mum
keeping-
just appears.
Yeah, and she's just like, hello. I was like, whoa.
you know,
creepy.
the mother has some of the best wardrobe changes out of all the ghosts.
Oh, I love her wardrobe.
Yeah.
Like, if I had the money, I would dress like that all the time. Just going around in big, long ass dresses. Just that would be my aesthetic.
Like an elf from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it's my ideal aesthetic.
Oh.
I can't believe that we haven't talked about this already.
I know.
But
To be fair, you see it the most in like the final 2 episodes. Well, this episode's about her, isn't it? Oh no,
very
that's 9.
true.
Episode...
Oh, you mean the mother, Carla Gugino?
Yes.
How have we not talked about Carla Gugino?
I love her.
I mean, we're about to
So
get the mother load now, so...
Very
Yeah.
true.
I mean, she pops up a lot in episode 8 and 9 and 10,
I mean,
isn't it?
in a really weird way, I think episode 9 is a really great culmination of her journey because
Yeah.
we see her through all the different perspectives first, and then we see her side of the story and recontextualize everything. So I think
I completely agree, and they do a similar thing in Bly Manor as well.
yeah, true. Oh, it's almost like there's parallels.
Very true.
But yeah, oh my God, Carla Gugino, what a fucking actress!
She
Like-
is fantastic in this episode.
Like she can go
in the
from
entire show, but like specifically,
like in
this
general,
episode.
but this, like, she's able to go from kind, sweet, loving to absolute mad psycho and the flip of a hat, and you
Yeah.
believe every second of it. You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
It's so well done. It's like, oh my god.
100%.
oh, she should be in everything. Just
She should.
putting it out there, just everything.
I'm shocked she's not a bigger actress.
Yeah. She's done a lot of short films, which I kind of like it when I see actresses doing that, because it's like, yay, support for the independent
Yeah.
films.
Do you know what the last short film Zack Snyder did wasn't too bad actually?
Was that
Snow, Steam, Iron.
yeah, I thought it had steam in it.
It was pretty decent actually. It's kind of like a mid-30s noir kind of thing. It's only 5 minutes
Oh.
long.
I
But yeah.
enjoyed it as well.
I'll have to have a check. I'll have to check it out.
But yeah,
But
Zack
where to
Snyder,
begin with?
who's
Oh,
worked Zack Snyder, who's worked regularly with Carla Gugino for
Very
good
true.
fucking reason. My God. Oh,
Watchmen.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Steel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And do you know what? I actually love her in Sucker Punch. I thought she was fantastic as Vera Gorski.
Yeah, she's really good in that.
Oh, I love Sucker Punch. I don't care what anyone says.
I haven't watched Sucker Punch in such a long time. I
Like
think
you
I
can
would rewatch.
you can say it's bad, but I don't care. I fucking love it. But yeah. What
Am
were you
I
saying,
the-
David?
Am I the only person whose introduction to Collegino was Spy Kids?
No,
No,
that
same
was
for
my
me.
introduction as well. Yeah.
It was the same for me.
Yeah, same for me. She
Oh,
was the
I
Spy
will-
Kids mom, and then I don't know what else I saw in, but I just kept seeing her pop up in things after that.
Yeah, same here.
And I've never had any issues with any of the characters she's played. Like, they all seem perfectly well cast.
Hmm.
And I do think she should be in more things.
She was in Mr. Popper's Penguins, and I loved
Oh, she
her.
was.
She was at Night at the Museum.
Yeah.
She was in San Andreas with the
Oh
Rock
my
and-
god, yes. What a
I
film.
never watched that. So.
Oh, it was a disaster, but it was fun.
Fair
Pretty
enough.
apt given the subject matter.
But I always forget she was in Watchmen.
Oh, I
So-
love her in Watchmen.
She was good in that.
So yeah, I think that's a perfect segue to episode 9, don't you think?
Yeah. Yep.
So, we see the mother's experience with everything.
I do like this episode too. It's very freaky.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's really cool because like we kind of end on a pretty massive cliffhanger in the previous episode where Luke gets captured, and now we're like,
Yeah.
okay, you see all those things you knew? Well, you might have been wrong about that, so let us put the record straight, kind of thing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, why?
It's like something that Deadpool would do in a really weird way. Like
Yeah.
he would like stop the scene at a big cliffhanger
Yeah,
and be like,
be
"Okay,
like-
let's go back."
Okay, let's clarify.
I mean,
For
isn't
you.
that the first Deadpool though?
That
Yeah,
is
pretty
very
much.
But I wouldn't consider that as much of a cliffhanger as it is just a random scene, whereas Hill House is definitely a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, just like, ooh, spooky mama.
but it's like it's great because we've got all the individual episodes for the characters. We got the massive team up like in the Avengers for episode 6, and then after all of that,
Dad.
yeah, and then episode 8 is kind of like, okay, final plan. This is what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it, kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And then
now
episode
we have
9,
9. How does
Finally,
it- yeah,
yeah, it's
ties it all together.
exactly, and it's like, okay, so we got everyone else's perspective on Mother, and she was just kind of being like a satellite around everyone, whereas now it's like, okay, focus is on Mom. Here's what was actually going on while she was spaced out.
Yeah. I enjoy the ghost that basically follows her around because
Oh,
she's
Poppy
so...
Hill.
Yeah, she's just so like. She's so like you would want to be friends with this kind of person, but at the same time, she's super menacing in the way she speaks.
Like, you would have tea, but
Yeah.
you'd never invite her for a sleepover.
Yeah, you'd have tea, and then you'd be like, "Okay, it's getting dark now. Get out." You're spooking me out now.
Can't I stay over? No, you've got to go.
No, bye.
Nah,
Bye.
husband, dogs, cousin,
Yeah.
brother, sister, you know the deal.
She's like that one friend you have that you can only cope with in small amounts. Like, if you have them for longer than a few days in your house, you're just like, no, I can't. I'm gonna argue with you. Please go.
Yeah.
I feel as though Poppy Hill was really the spirit of Hill House. Like I feel as though there was like one incumbent spirit of Hill House who like took on the form of one of the former residents, and in the case of when the Crane family were there, it was Poppy Hill, and then it moved on
Yeah.
to Olivia Crane.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way that I saw
See,
it anyway.
I would have been down for that theory, but then episode 10 kind of throws a pie in that face,
I mean, true, but
which we'll get to eventually.
Yeah.
I feel as though it's kind of like a representative thing of that,
Like,
um,
yeah,
because it's like Poppy Hill was the big bad when the
Yeah.
crates were there, and then after the death of Olivia, it's like Olivia is the big bad.
Yeah.
and I would have
Poppy-
been okay with that as long as it was the house manifesting it. Like, it's a really weird
Yeah.
fucking comparison, but if you've seen Bleach, you've got the Grand Fisher who wears the mask of the person they love most to draw them
Oh
in.
yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
if you don't know the reference, fuck you. But
I know.
But yeah, it's like, it's kind of like the bait to get the food into the stomach kind of thing. I would have been okay with
Yeah.
that. But if you make them autonomous and have their personality, I think that has the potential of really destroying characters.
Yeah.
Very
So,
true.
Like Poppy Hill very much has a character. She's
like, she was set up to be insane from the start. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's like she's an insane person, so but she's also very strangely persuasive.
insane people can do that.
Mm.
I mean, I did it with you guys to come to this podcast, so.
It's like I said, she's the bad influence. She's
Yeah.
the friend that your parents tell you not to listen to.
Yeah. She finds very quickly the mother's anxieties about losing her kids and just presses on it. Like, hey, you know your kids are gonna die when they get older.
Yeah,
Like,
and
hey, you know they're gonna get addicted to heroin and die.
and
The
oh
only
my
way to
god,
stop
that
it is
scene,
to kill them yourself.
like that scene where the twins are telling her how they're going to die. Like, that was the most uncomfortable I've been
Yeah, I
watching
was
this
like,
series.
oh.
Like, watching baby Nelly explain how she was going to die, I was like,
And
Yeah. I was like, oh, no.
Luke talking about like
the heroin
injecting-
overdose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just.
It's enough to just make you go, no.
I can't imagine what those kids must have felt like reciting
know,
those
just like,
lines. Like,
What am I saying?
I don't know, like that. This is why it's like those performances were so good. I am convinced that they've done the Avengers de-aging thing, where it's
Yeah.
like they literally went back in time with Ant-Man in Endgame, and it's like, okay, there you go. You've got the skill, you've got the chops. Go act and come back. We'll get you back to normal later.
Yeah.
See,
feel like
I'd
that's-
believe that if I didn't know who McKenna Grace was.
Oh my god! Like,
or Lulu Wilson, because she was in Annabelle as well.
Oh.
Creation? Yeah,
was it Creation or Comes Home?
Creation, because that was the I want to say orphanage.
Oh yeah, the rural orphanage. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that was That was Creation. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that one.
I really like the horror in this one is mostly played up from the mother's perspective of obviously she is basically this is the anxiety any parent goes through. You want to protect your kids from everything, but obviously as they turn into adults you can't. It's not doable. But like she literally ends up seeing the ghosts of her future like dead children.
Oh, God,
Like,
that-
that's enough to send
Yeah.
anyone.
And it's like, it's a really simple fear that a parent would
Yeah.
have, but it's just ratcheted up to 11.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they do the same thing with it. Like a literal monster that goes around eating kids. That's like a parent's worst nightmare. And it definitely scared me to the point where, well, for some reason, It Chapter 1 didn't scare me that much, but It Chapter 2, it freaking scared me. And like, I was having
That's
nightmares for like a
interesting.
couple of weeks.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I thought It Chapter 1 was stronger and It Chapter 2 was shit.
Yeah. I don't feel. I don't how to explain it. Like, it gave me nightmares because it very successfully fed on my fear as a parent.
Fair
So
enough.
I was having very horrible nightmares of like things happening to Mikey, of him like being attacked by Pennywise basically, and it just so for me it wasn't even like I wasn't afraid of the thing itself, I was afraid of the thing happening to my kid, if that makes any sense.
No, that's
Yeah, no, that's
completely
yeah,
understandable.
absolutely.
especially when you take into account that while James McAvoy's character may not have been a dad, you also have the scene with the kid where he's trying to save the kid at the carnival.
Oh yeah, you know what? Literally, that scene where he gets munched on, like my brain took that and put Mikey in the kid's place in my nightmares, and it was
That
like,
must have been horrifying.
it wasn't nice. I woke up sweating a couple of times, and I was like, it's been a long time since a film's had that level of effect on me. So I was like, oof.
It just came to me, but could you imagine how much of a different film it would have been if it wasn't Pennywise and instead it was Ronald McDonald?
Ooh. It would have been funny.
It just
That
came
would have
to
been
me.
a different experience.
That would have been funny.
And then he's like threatening kids with an overabundance of Happy Meals.
Yeah, just obesity.
Uh,
But yeah, it's an interesting fear to explore.
And then it recontextualizes everything that happened on the last night from the perspective of the mother as well.
Yeah.
And you know
Definitely,
what?
and
We didn't talk about it, but in episode 7, when we were on the dad's episode, the fact that we see the red room door open,
Yeah.
like, that moment, I was like, oh my god! Like, that was like mind blowing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, when did that open?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, the things we can do with this. And it's like,
Yeah.
again, I don't need to have like 10 planets being exploded by Death Star destroyers. Now just give me a door opening and good characters, man. That's all I need.
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, I was reading into it earlier, and Quentin Tarantino actually said that The Haunting of Hill House is his favorite Netflix series. This must have been like a year or two ago, but he said that it was his favorite that he's ever seen.
It's so good.
I mean, it's my favorite, so
Same here.
God, yeah, like I think the more I think about it, I think Bly Manor does edge it out slightly at the moment, but my
Oh,
god.
really?
Yeah, I mean we'll get to Blind Manor in a couple of weeks, but yeah, Hill House is definitely up there though. It's got one of my
Yeah.
top 3 episodes of all time in all television.
Yeah. It's definitely one of my favorite horror themed like series.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and it's like
This is the first time that we see what happens like the final night.
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like what
Well,
exactly is
at
going
least-
on and stuff.
At least half of it from the mother's perspective, because we still
Very
have
true.
the rest of father's thing to go through.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's really cool seeing everything that Hugh and Stephen was going through, but from the mother's perspective, and just
Yeah.
opening the door and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh. And then no, it wasn't a ghost at the start or someone who's possessed. No, it was just a broken ankle. It's like, oh, just so
Yeah.
much recontextualization. Just
I've got a question. How did she break her ankle? Like I knew that she was knocked out, but
it's like they did show it, but I'm really spacing on how it was done.
I can't
I think it was in the
remember.
red room. She tripped or something.
okay.
Oh yeah, she did. She tripped in the red room and then
Yeah.
she was like hobbling
And
over after
that's
them.
what caused her to hit her head. Like I could be wrong, but they did show her twist her ankle. I just can't remember the
Okay.
exact point of it.
I must have spaced on that moment because I
Yeah.
was like, right, she definitely hit her head, but why is she limping?
She must have just twisted it as she fell, yeah.
Yeah, because I do remember them showing it, and I was like, oh, so that's why she was hobbling around in that weird way. So I did have that
Yeah.
reaction, but I'm really spacing on the flow of events that led to the ankle break, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like it feels like her leg was fine and the next minute she's hobbling around like
That's how I
everywhere.
felt.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it
like,
was.
what happened?
I think it was when the dad shoved her, like
Oh,
she
yeah.
twisted it or something like that. It was in that sequence of events, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else think the little girl was just gonna be a normal ghost. Just expect it to be a ghost the entire time.
You know
Luke's
what?
little friend.
Yes.
When the penny dropped, I was like,
I was
oh
like,
my
"Gee."
god. And
Yeah,
it was
because like when she started foaming at the mouth, I thought it was still just like Luke's imaginary friend. So I thought Nell didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. And then they were both like, "Why is she doing that?" And I was like, "Oh my god."
it's like
2 6-year-olds have just witnessed somebody being poisoned to death, and it's not a nice way to die either.
do you know what? The penny dropped for me when the mother saw the girl in the bed, and I was like,
Yeah.
and then I just kind of clocked on that Mr. Dudley was talking about the firstborn, and I was like, oh my god, it's the Dudley's kid. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
mind blown. And that's kind of cool because you have a payoff, but all the plans were so subtle that you kind of forget about them. But when the
Yeah.
payoff happens, they all come flooding in, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
Absolutely.
she just killed a kid. Oh dear.
I think it brings in more of a tragedy to Luke's story as well.
Yeah.
Because
So it's like he had a friend and he literally watched his friend get poisoned to death, like in
By
the
by
most
his mother, no
horrendous
less.
way. I know.
yeah, he lost
No
his mother
wonder.
and his friend in the same night, and then obviously everything goes on with the drugs problems.
And what's
but
worse is
Yeah.
no one still believes he has, well, except for maybe Nell, no one believes he even had that friend.
Yeah, because
Very
she was just
true.
taken and buried and nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Oh, that's awful. Poor Luke. He's
And-
been
and-
through
and-
some stuff.
And then you can even see like the parallel between him and his friend in the 4th episode as well.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even thought about it
It's
that way.
like
Mm.
another chance.
And he
Oh
also
god, I
loses
didn't even
that
think
friend
about
too.
that.
Nope,
Jesus,
neither.
dude. Like,
It's
why must you
heartbreaking.
why must you highlight how good this show is, man?
I have to, dude. The world needs to know how good this show is.
Everyone's gotta know.
Oh, it's like it's so good. But yeah, like, and then you get to see all of the moments where she's spaced or she's doing something that was just mad. You know, like punching the
a
mirror.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
was
like,
waiting for that. Like when I was watching it, I was like, "She's gonna see something in the mirror, obviously." And,
and then it's the twins, and I'm like, oh.
I was like, "Oh, that was horrible."
And then her telling Hugh is
I
like,
think what makes it worse is the fact that it would be bad enough. It would be bad enough if it was any of your children,
But all
but,
the
but
versions,
literally your babies.
yeah, like the tiniest ones.
Yeah, like
yeah, because already she was talking to Poppy about, oh yeah, it's like Stephen, Theo, Shirley, they've all grown up, they hardly need me anymore, but the twins, they still need me, and it's like seeing the twins being killed, it's like,
Yeah, it's your worst fear that you can't protect your smallest ones.
absolutely.
It's like, yeah.
Like
What-
that must be just so terrifying, and you can understand completely why she'd want to protect any of them,
Yeah,
but especially those two.
yeah. It's just done in a very not make sense way. It's a very selfish way if you think about it. I'm gonna kill them so they stay permanently the same age.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, it's like if love was turned into possession.
Yeah, it's like extreme overprotectiveness.
Yeah, it's like freaking something else from Blind Manor as well. But
Yeah.
very true.
jeez, parallels. But yeah, it's
Mm.
when love can transition to a form of possession to the point where it's like you will protect at all cost, even at the expense of their own lives, and it's like, oh Jesus.
It's like, okay, that's bizarre.
And you know
I really
what?
like. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that the conversation she has with Mrs. Dudley, where she's talking about the stones coming down and hitting the
Oh.
house, I was like, "Holy shit, that was a good monologue."
That's also in the novel.
Oh, really?
Oh, sweet.
It's in the novel, but it's from one of the characters. I don't think there's a character in the novel called Eleanor, and she talks about that situation with her sister. So
Ah,
they've taken that and given it to Olivia Crane instead.
That's very cool.
And
yeah.
also, you know, when she's talking about the Cup of Stars, that's also in the novel.
Mm.
Oh,
Very
wow.
briefly.
Oh, do you know what? The Cup of Stars. Like, how cool is it
Oh,
that
yeah.
the mother says, "Are you sure you'll take care of it?" It's like, "I'll drink from it for the rest of my life." And then when in episode 5, she has the Cup of Stars as a grown up, and I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god!" Like, ah,
And then when they're having the tea party,
Yeah.
the Cup of
she
Stars.
has her cup of stars.
Oh, it's just, it's just.
That's very early on in the novel actually as well, and it's nothing even to do with Hill House. Like it happens when Eleanor goes into a diner on her way to Hill House, and basically there's this mum and their kid in the diner, and the kid's basically going, "Can I have a cup of stars?" And basically the whole thing is the kid wants this specific cup with stars at the bottom, and like that's where it's taken from. And I was like, I love that. That's really cool that it's not even anything to do with Hill House, and they've put it in Hill House.
Mm. Oh, like the fact that we can talk for a good couple of minutes about a fucking cup with stars on it just shows how good this show is, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just like when I was reading it in the novel, I was just like, that's so cool that you've literally taken this and thrown it in there.
Is there anything else we need to cover from the mother's side of things?
Just
Not that I
very
can think of.
devastating bit where he goes, "What would we do without you?"
Oh my god,
Oh,
like
at the end of the episode. Yeah.
Jesus.
I was like, "Oh, I'm sad now."
It's like I think the words were it's like you go on without me, and then he just goes, "How could we?"
How could we?
And it's just
Yeah,
like
it's like
3 words, man. That's all it took, and I was like, "Oh."
And it segues perfectly into the last episode.
yep.
Right. And do you know what? I'm gonna say it. Last episode, kind of shit.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do.
I feel like the ending part was rushed a little bit.
More specifically, the last 15 minutes were shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to agree there.
Like, we'll go through the episode and we'll cover everything bit by bit, but yeah, the last 15-20 minutes just kind of really shat the bed as far as I'm concerned. But leading up to it, though, very invested.
Yeah, I was like, oh, here we go. Everything's gonna
Do you
go
know?
off.
Yeah, and I was not expecting the episode to start with Stephen at home with the pregnant wife. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck just happened?
Neither
I did enjoy that because that bit just made me go, what? Wait, are you trying to say this was a whole thing, like where Stephen was just telling the whole story?
Yeah, and
And
then
then it was like, no, he's in the red room. I was like, oh, you got me, show. You got
yeah,
me.
like seeing the wife melt was like, oh, okay.
I was like, oh, okay.
That
Yeah.
was so unnerving. Like it made me think that it was some sort of framing device
Yeah.
when it was actually all in his head.
And then it's like seeing every single person's worst kind
I
of
enjoyed that bit.
realization about themselves being shown to
Yeah.
them was really cool.
Yeah. It was really good because it was like, this is the, like, basically your insecurities are being shown to you, and it's like the same thing they did with Olivia because they used her insecurities about the kids.
Hmm.
Very
So they were
true.
doing
And
the
then-
same thing to the children. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I think this is the first point where I started to feel iffy about the episode, and it's when it was Nellie who was saving them, not as the
Oh.
bent neck lady. And I was like, okay, hang on.
So she's magically not bent neck lady anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
a bit like, how's she magically? Like, did they get to choose how they appear?
Yeah, in which
'Cause,
case,
like,
why
I hadn't
would you?
thought about that.
Yeah.
I hadn't
Um,
thought about that, but
and
you're
also-
completely right.
And also, like, if we're going under the assumption that Nellie is autonomous and for lack of a better way of saying it, has free will in this house, then does that mean every ghost is, and they're just being dicks to each other sometimes? Or is it the actual house itself?
That's what I wondered, because I was like, some of the ghosts don't look ghostly, they don't look creepy or anything like that. Like the clock dude, he didn't show up as a ghost. That's how you could walk past him and not know he was a ghost. But like the rest of them, like William Hill appears as a creepy slender man.
Yeah. So
Poppy sometimes shows up as herself in just like a flapper girl clothes, and then sometimes she shows up as a grey ghost. And then you have other ghosts that are grey, and then you have other ghosts that are like people, and you're like, do they get to choose how they look? What's going on?
Yeah,
and
because
you have the daughter who's completely normal as well.
Yeah, she looks the same.
And it's like, it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, so
and
if...
then...
go on.
I was gonna say, and then sometimes Olivia's ghostly, and then sometimes she's not.
Yeah. Oh, I think Olivia gets done dirty hardcore in this episode, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh yeah, we will get to that in time. But yeah, also like Nell going so far as to go, okay, getting everyone out of the dreams and whatnot. I've not really got a problem with that. It's just that it really puts a spanner in the works of how the mechanics of the ghosts work. Because are they under the influence of the house? Are they autonomous? Because now lots of different things are being conflicted with right now.
Yeah.
You know, because up until now the mother's been stalking people and the bent neck lady and different ghosts and whatnot, and we talked about it earlier. We thought that, okay, it could have been the house manipulating them. But if Nellie can get them out of the dream states and be autonomous, then it just does not compute, you know?
Yeah. I kind of read it as, because they're all there in one place, that it's easier for her to appear autonomous because she's like maybe able to like feed off of them. But at the same time, they're already feeling negative stuff, so it would be feeding the house, not her.
Yeah.
So like part of me was like, I was kind of like, is it the fact that they're all together in one place because they haven't been together in one place at all? Is that why she's suddenly able to not look like the bent neck lady? Because when she was bent neck lady, she was alone, and that's what I kind of thought. But I was like, again, it makes no sense.
They were together in episode 6, and
and she was the bent neck ghost.
Yeah, so this, and the reason why I'm having so many issues with it is because originally, like, I read an interview with Mike Flanagan, and he was like, the original ending was supposed to be darker, but he was too bummed out about it, so they rewrote it during production. And I was like, clearly it fucking shows, because that's why, like, the cats in episode 2, I was so sure that was how it's gonna end up, like one dies first, then the rest of them, with the dad being alone or something like that. But no, instead, even Luke, okay, I don't care how many ghosts. I don't care how many ghost forceisms you have, you're not gonna bring back a guy who's injected rat poison into his veins, dude.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's magically okay now. No.
Like, it was absurdly happy by the end. I was like, this is kind of uncomfortably happy. Like, what happened? And also the mother. Right. And do you know what? The portrayal of the house, before I get to the mother, the portrayal of the house in the last 20 minutes was so fucking weird, because through 9 episodes it's been like, fear the house, fear the house, fear the house, fear the house.
Like this house. And then even when, you know, like when the dad says, we're like a half-finished meal and it won't stop until it gets all of us, I was like, oh, I think they're all going to die. That was personally what I thought, because I was like, I feel like the house won't let them go because they're still seeing ghosts outside of the house, so the house has got them, basically.
And it's like, when it's the last 20 minutes though, it's like, oh, look at the house, it's actually quite wonderful, we get to be a family together here in the Red Room, yay, and the Dudleys get their kids, yay. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a really weird fucking reference. It's like when Bella Swan was jumping off a cliff trying to see Edward. It's like, yeah, you get to see it temporarily, but you're also falling down a cliff, dude. It's like, tone, you know? It's like, we spent so much time fearing the house, and now is being portrayed
just-
almost as if
yeah.
it's a wonderful thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I didn't get that because I was like, I'm sorry, if you know this house is capable of doing this much damage to people, you would want to find out how to end the house. I feel like them just going, oh, it's okay, we'll just leave it to the Dudleys. I don't feel like that
Which
works.
also, the Dudleys, that was so fucking rushed because, like, they come up, they find their daughter dead. 2 minutes later, right, we've got a plan, bro. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, we're going way too fast.
I mean, I feel like it was because they realized they could still see their daughter. They were like, okay, right, well, we want to keep it this way. I don't know.
You see, I never really saw it as that, because a lot of the ending in Hill House, they kind of reference it as though if they leave it alone, it'll just kind of go away. If you get what I mean, like if you stay away, stop feeding it, it'll eventually kind of die off in a way, and that's kind of the way that I
Oh.
viewed it.
So they were like
Um,
trying to kill it from like starvation, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
But then the Dudleys are still going there,
Yeah.
and it can still feed off the Dudleys because they're going there every time they want to go and see their daughter. So wouldn't it still be
Very
feeding off
true.
of
Like,
them?
they even go to the house to die so that they can be with their 2 daughters. And
So
it's like,
again, it's still feeding off them, yeah.
you're saying we're not going to feed it, but you're actively feeding it. Dudleys, you're not making
yeah.
sense.
Very
Yeah. And then it's kind of like
And
it's
And even when Luke goes to try to put it in flames,
doesn't
it
burn.
rescues itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it has a survival instinct. So
Of course, it would try and convince you, oh yeah, if you leave me alone, I won't feed on people.
yum 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 yum.
Yeah. I mean, it got the kids to go into the red room, and they weren't being tormented or frightened. They were using the room for their own like recreation, and it was still feeding off them.
Hmm.
So it would do. Basically, it does the whole thing of I'm gonna lull you into a false sense of security and feed off you while you're in your false sense of security.
Yeah, it's almost like a very slow digestion, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
And yeah, also, the way they get rescued, their dad, quote unquote, sacrificing himself. I'm like, the mother just ends up being an outright villain now because of the portrayal of the house now, because she's not being compelled by the house, she's doing it of her own free will.
Yeah.
And she's doing it because she doesn't want to be alone. But then Nell is there as well, but she never wanted to be there. She was made to do that. And it's like, your messages are so fucking balked at this moment, because when Nell killed herself with the mother there, I could have believed, okay, yeah, I could have believed it was the house compelling her, but now the dad's killing himself because it's the wife asking him to, so mixed fucking messages, dude.
But
I
at
don't
the
know.
same time, they continually say throughout the show that the house drives people drives people mad with the way that Poppy was driven mad, and the way that Mrs. Dudley, she started to lose it a little bit the longer that they stayed there, which is why they would only go during the day, and then in the night they would go back home, and it started to fade off until they were back to normal again, whereas Olivia had been there for a long time, and as a ghost she'd been there as a long time, so I kind of saw it as by Hugh, and with her having been there for such a long time, she'd just been driven insane.
I mean, with Poppy, she was already insane, so it probably wouldn't have taken very much for the house to just be like, hello, you're crazy now.
Very true, but she lived there for a long time before she died.
True. I don't know, because it does feel like it, at first it's like the house the house is the problem, which is fine. I like the fact that the house is
same here.
autonomous. But then it's like it's the mother
And it's
doing it all. And I was like, no, I really was like convinced that the house was using the fact that it was like basically putting Nell in a trance, and she didn't want to kill herself. She did it by accident because she didn't realize what was happening until it was too late. So I was like, okay, it's the house. But then basically it's shown that the mother just wants all of her kids to come home. And I was like, I thought it was the house.
I didn't really see it as Olivia herself, because they constantly reference it as though there's the Olivia before Hill House, and then there's the Olivia after. Because of the effects of Hill House, it changed her on a whole different level. And so that's kind of how I viewed it. So that she wasn't really herself anymore by the time the last night happened.
Yeah, but then it's like, is the house controlling her, or is she now autonomous, and is she now the one that's using the house as a way of getting her kids to come home? Because it very much focused on that aspect of she wants them to come home.
Yeah, because even then we've got Nellie, who was kind of being driven insane and went to the house as a result of that. And after she killed herself, she was kind of normal, back to happy Nellie, even happy era Nellie, so to speak, even, especially when they were in the Red Room interacting. So even then it's inconsistent, because Nellie was able to go to her happiest level of Nellie, but Mom kind of stayed at the crazy level. Like, that just kind of, again, it, like, I get what you're saying, dude. Like, I do, and there is logic there, because the last time we saw the mother, she was so desperate to keep them there, and in that sense it is true. But at the same time, then wouldn't Nellie be at her crazed state as well?
Yeah, like why would true. That's a good point. Like, Nellie would have stayed like Bent Neck Lady.
Yeah.
If that was the case.
At the very least, the Bent Neck Lady, you know?
That's very true.
Yeah.
I think a part of me feels as though, because I've grew up on some ghost stories where essentially the longer the ghosts are ghosts, they start to gradually go insane. Which is why there are so many ghost stories where like there's a haunting.
Yeah. It would make sense. It's just
I guess I kind of just assumed that it was something like that, because Nellie had only been dead for like 2 days or so.
See, I would agree with you. I would agree with you there, but the mother's level of insanity is the same as the day she died. She just wants her kids to be safe.
She hasn't gotten any more insane. She's just the same level of insane, and she's like, look, I'm fine, I was just dreaming. In fact, it's almost like she doesn't even realize she's dead.
That's true.
Which a character in Bly really doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that character. She was such a good character.
Oh, Bly's so good. But
yeah, I was very much confused at the end. I was like, is it the house, or is it the mother? Or is the mother using the house? Is the house convinced her and made her insane, so she's now like working with the house? Is that what's going on? My brain was just like fried at this point.
It is a very much mixed message by the time the ending came around, because it was, like I said earlier, it was an absurdly happy ending. Like, it's shockingly happy and happy, all things considered. And I did not understand, like, thematically, I get why Thea would leave the gloves behind, but after everything she'd gone through, I really don't think she would.
No, I would have kept them. I'd have been like, I'm not touching nothing. I'm like, never touching anything again.
You know? Like,
I do agree with you there. Like, that seemed quite bizarre.
Yeah.
Because at prior to all this, at Hill House in the present day, she was like semi-skeptic, whereas by going to Hill House, it was just completely confirmed.
Yeah,
it was like, you have power.
Everyone is absurdly normal by the end. It's almost like, oh yeah, Hill House, oh what a jolly old time kind of thing, as opposed to, oh my god, Hill House, that was fucking terrified, you know?
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to rest if I knew the house was still out there somewhere, because I'd just be like, well, what if it just tries to draw us back in again?
Hmm.
What if it just uses the fact that it's got more of our family members? What if it's like, tasty cranes, I want more cranes.
I'm feeling like dessert.
Yes.
I can just imagine the house with the toothpick, and the toothpick's like a big skeleton, and the doors just being scraped by it. It's like, I'm feeling peckish tonight.
Yeah. What do I want? Do I want a nice chocolatey crane?
It sounds a bit silly, but I suppose a part of the writing may have been a case of, okay, so they've left Hill House before, and they tried to deal with the situation as best as they can, but obviously they were kind of drawn apart from one another.
Yeah.
Whereas
maybe.
now they've came together because of Hill House and because of everything with Nell, and their relationships have essentially been reforged, and they've learned some lessons. So as while Hill House has affected them in a large way, and while they have lost so much because of it, and obviously a very traumatic experience, the best thing they can do is move on. Like I'm not justifying the happy ending, like
Oh,
the
no.
extremely happy ending, but like it makes sense, and I could see where they would come from
Dude,
a
absolutely.
point of view.
Like, thematically speaking, I absolutely get what they were going for, and I understand what it is you're saying, because this entire series, I think I was talking to you about it like last week, David, like, this entire series has been about how a family gets over grief and having that happy ending of, we have gotten over our grief. Thematically, it makes sense.
Makes sense.
It just narratively kind of balks the message. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, I get what you mean, and like especially with like, how did Luke survive?
Yeah, it's like fucking
How
hell.
did he not die? Like he injected rat poison right into his veins. Like that's
And
probably.
he was
a quick way of-
clinically dead for a while. It's like,
Yeah, like that's like a level of, you've just injected it right into your system. Like if you swallowed rat poison, it might take a bit longer to kill you, but you just injected it straight into a vein. No, you're dead.
Like I'm nowhere near an expert on rat poison, but I'm pretty sure you'd die.
If you were left that long, because I have to assume they were in the house for a good while.
a
Before
couple
they
of
got
hours
woken
at
up.
least.
Yeah, so without immediate hospital attention, I'm pretty sure rat poison would kill you.
I suppose a lot of the time we talk about Avengers Endgame, and how not a lot of
Fucking rats, dude, all over the place.
God damn it, rats.
That's true. We talk about Avengers Endgame, how not everything adds up with
Yeah.
like time travel
Oh,
logic,
yeah.
but like the where we end up by the end of the film, it's worthwhile. And
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
kind
no,
of
I
feel
know.
I kind of feel that way about Luke's survival, because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense that he'd survive injecting rat poison into himself. Not
No.
really, no. But am I happy that he survived? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's clearly having a much better life at the end. You know, two years
Yeah.
later.
Mm,
So I'm happy for Luke.
yeah,
It
like,
would have been extremely tragic if he'd have died as well. Which, for a brief moment, I thought he had died, and I was like, well, this show is just a treat.
like on a subjective level, when it comes to just the feels, I was satisfied by the end. It's just that when I really think about it, okay, look, bro, things aren't making sense here. What's going on? So
Yeah.
all it does really is stop Hill House from becoming like a god tier show. It's still a phenomenal show. You know?
It's
Absolutely.
still very good.
Like, it's
Um,
just, yeah, it's just one level off of perfection. It's still fucking worth watching.
I've
Oh,
got
yeah.
a fun fact as well. So, do you know the way that we were talking about the importance of the number 7?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
forgot about that.
Well, like we said, 7 members of the family, 7 members of the Crane family. Well, it also just so happens that there are 7 steps between Luke's bed and Nell's bed in the bedroom at Hill House.
Holy shit, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And on top of that, there are 7 members of the family at the end of the series. Not,
Oh, yeah.
Not Nell, not Olivia or Hugh.
Like
But
the
you've also
auxiliary
got-
family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got Stephen's wife, you've got Shirley's
Shelley's
husband,
family, yeah.
and
Shirley's
Yeah.
family.
and you've got Theo's girlfriend or
Yeah.
wife. I believe they're wearing rings at the end, so maybe wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Wait, hang on. Is that 7 though?
Yeah.
So,
Because they lost 3 people.
but Shirley has 2 kids.
I know, but I'm talking about in the last show.
Oh, okay.
Of the family there.
Okay.
There's 7 people.
Okay, that's cool. I was well confused. Like, hang on, I'm sure she has kids.
I have a fun fact from the book again. You know how Olivia says journey's end and lovers meeting? Well, that gets quoted a lot in the book.
Hmm.
I think in the book it's meant to be like a suggestion that Eleanor has a crush on Luke. Because she says it whenever Luke's in the room, and I'm like, just admit it, you fancy this dude. Just stop saying this quote over and over. What are you doing? But yeah, like I like how they used it in the show because it was basically kind of part of their wedding vows or something. I think. Whereas in the book, like I say, it's just used anytime Eleanor's around Luke as a way of her saying she's flustered by him and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm a bit confused by it, to be honest, in the book. But I thought it was cool that they used it.
Very
Oh,
nice.
yeah. So, all in all, it's a good
Good
show.
Very good show.
Even with the ending, like, I would never say don't watch the show. Like, watch it. It is so worth it.
Oh no.
Don't get me wrong. I think Bly Manor has a better ending than Hill House.
Oh yeah, I think.
Oh,
But
we will talk
it-
about
okay.
Blind Manor
Yeah.
in fucking depth.
Yeah, Bly
But on-
Manor bookends much better, I would say, whereas Hill House
Absolutely.
doesn't really bookend. It just kind of.
It feels like they learned a lot of lessons from Hill House on
Yeah.
Bly Manor. So that's all I'll say about Bly Manor because we've got a lot to talk about Bly Manor.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I would even go so far as to say this show is so good. Like episode 6 is in my top 3 episodes of TV of all time. It is
Oh,
so
wow.
good.
Yeah, it's
it
a
is
good episode.
fantastic.
5's my favorite. I'm not sure why. I think I'm just more drawn to that one.
That's fair.
I think I really got my heart torn out by episode 5.
Oh
I
yeah.
did too, but it's still like I'm still drawn to it. Like I'd still happily rewatch that episode and just enjoy it.
I feel as though for me, 4, 5, and 6 is such a run.
Yeah.
Learning about Luke and then obviously what happened to Nell, and then the 6th episode is
The
just
atomic
incredible.
bomb that is the family.
Exactly.
It's so good. Just if you haven't watched it, you need to go watch it
Oh hells yeah.
right now.
But yeah, it's like I think that's our recommendation for this week. Just watch Hill House, dude. Just what the hell
Hill
are you
House,
doing?
yeah.
Took us a
I mean,
while.
I will recommend something else if you like Chelsea Peretti. Watch You, specifically season 2. But yeah,
Oh right, the show.
yeah.
Oh, like watch me.
You,
Hang
the
on.
show. Watch You. Just watch yourself. No, yeah. Watch the show You. I can't remember what else she's in. But yeah.
I mean, she's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so if you want to see Once
Watch
Upon a
that
Time in
too.
Hollywood, watch that too.
And also, Oh no, wait. I can't really recommend anything to do with Bly Manor right now because we haven't talked about Bly Manor. So those recommendations will happen next week.
Oh
Actually,
yes.
you know what? I do have a recommendation.
Oh my.
Watch all the films by Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Just watch Mike Flanagan stuff. There you go.
Because odds are Kate Siegel is in it.
Uh-huh.
Oh
And
yeah,
also,
true.
odds are you will enjoy it because he
Odds
is a
are
good film.
Henry Thomas is also in
Yep.
Ah yes, Elliot.
it. Very true.
Right. My recommendation, Hill House. Just watch it, dude. Like I'll be singing his praises for years to come.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think it's definitely going to become a thing that I rewatch every Halloween.
I could see myself doing that too.
Oh, yes.
I hope
Just-
they do a third season.
Oh God, I hope they do.
I'm sure they will. It's popular enough.
Like I've heard some reviews being very negative to Blind Manor, and I'm like, oh, shut up, you idiots! Just don't
Yeah.
write. Please don't
I
write.
feel like the issue with Bly Manor is it's very much a different type of story.
Absolutely.
I think I said to you, Dylan, Hill House is what I thought Crimson Peak was gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You said.
Crimson
Yeah.
Peak is basically Bly Manor level.
Whereas Bly Manor is what we actually got from Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak is a gothic romance,
Exactly.
and that is
Hooah.
exactly what I would say Bly Manor is, a gothic romance, where it's romance with some spooks.
Yeah.
completely
Almost
agree with you.
essentially a romance story. And romance stories aren't always that scary. I mean,
Just
they
like
can be.
Deadpool.
It's like Deadpool.
Like Deadpool.
It's like, oh, I will make the comparison next week, but yes, like when she says that line, I was like, Deadpool said it too. But
Yeah.
yeah, is there anything else you want to finish up on Hill House before we finish for the day?
It's just very, very good, and it made me feel the feels.
Oh yeah,
I want to give props to Mike Flanagan
Yep.
and the entire cast. They
Yep.
were just, all of them, phenomenal.
like what an achievement in storytelling. Even with episode
So-
10, it's just fucking incredible. Just yes, all the way.
Yeah.
This
So
is-
thank you for coming to our simp session.
This is officially our longest video.
How many
Really?
how many hours is it for?
3
4
hours
hours.
and 47 minutes. Counting.
3
That's
hours
close
and
enough.
47 minutes of simping over.
I mean, Blind Manor. I mean, every week has just been longer and longer, and hopefully, if we start on time next week, who
Yeah.
knows? It might be 4+ hours of simping for
Yeah.
Blind Manor.
Yep. And then after that, simping on anime.
Oh no, the week after, because next week we're talking about anime.
I mean, we can do Bly Manor next week if you want.
I honestly don't mind. It's
I don't
whichever
mind
schedule he goes for.
I don't mind. I think it would be a nice buffer if we have the anime
It's just
episode.
anime and then-
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We have anime and then go for the hardcore simping again. Before I go
Okay.
back to my old grouchy self of just hating everything.
Yeah, okay.
So
We've
yeah.
got to let Dylan love stuff.
Yeah, we've
Yes.
got to let Dylan like stuff and then we've got to make him go back to hating it. Because otherwise, I think me and David are pretty nice with stuff, even if we don't like it.
Whereas it's like I still remember the boys, like you two were like, yeah, it wasn't that great, and then me, what a piece of shit show. It's like,
I mean, to be fair, with the boys, me and you had similar points for the second season.
yeah.
I mean, with the boys, I'm still largely positive. I'm just I had similar thoughts to you guys, and when you pointed out stuff that you didn't like about the show, I was like, yeah, I can absolutely see where you're coming from.
And you're
Yeah,
just like, but I
exactly.
still like it.
Like, don't
Yeah,
get me
exactly.
wrong, I'll still watch season 3 for Homelander, but that's about
Yeah.
it. I don't really care about anyone else anymore. But yeah, it's just, I do like things, and this is proof. So,
So there you go.
It exists. Proof exists. So, yeah. For anyone who's still watching, thank you very much for staying this long and listening to us. Absolutely adore this show. And thank you,
Absolutely.
David and Amy, for joining me in this mad session.
It
No
was
problem,
fun.
dude.
So,
Anytime.
yeah, absolutely. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you next week. So, bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye. Toodaloo.
And we